Yeah, good evening, everyone, and welcome. May I request as many of you who can put your videos on. Thank you. Nice to see you all. We'll wait for just one more minute and then we'll start here. I'll request my team to send message in the WhatsApp group as a reminder for all to join. So, good evening, everyone. Professor Bakshi sir has joined. Make him co-host. Yeah, good evening, sir. Welcome, please.
Good evening, everybody.
So, sir, let me start the program now. Yeah. And share my screen. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So, good evening, one and all, and welcome to all of you, dear colleagues who have joined in this 2-week long program, precisely 8 days. And special welcome to Professor A.K. Bakshi sir, who will be the first speaker with us. So, I welcome each one of you on behalf of UGC Malviya Mission Teacher Training Center, also known as Guru Angad Dev Malviya Mission Teacher Training Center, and formerly GAD-TLC. From STTB Khalsa College, University of Delhi, I welcome each one of you in this NEP Orientation and Sensitization Program. Starting from today, that is 11th December 2023, we will be having live sessions till 20th December 2023. Special welcome on behalf of Ministry of Education and University Grants Commission, where all these Malviya Mission Teacher Training Centers have been allocated. And you can know more about this entire scheme, which is Malviya Mission Teacher Training Program, on the website mmc.ugc.ac.in. This scheme has been taken in the honor of Bharat Ratna Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya ji. So, if we talk about our own center, which is one of the prestigious out of the total 111 centers so chosen, this UGC-MMTTC is situated at my own college, and we are seeking blessings from Guru Angad Dev Ji, the second of the 10 Sikh Gurus. So I welcome each one of you on behalf of Shri Guru Tegh Bahadur Khalsa College and University of Delhi, and special welcome on behalf of my governing body and principal. So welcome each one of you with a virtual bouquet of flower. All administrators, teachers, research scholars, and all other participants who have joined. Today's session is live on YouTube as well, and those who have enrolled, they are watching it on Zoom. Before I go further, I will also mention and pay gratitude to the entire team who is taking this further. And in the core team at GAD-MMTTC or the UGC-MMTTC at SGTB Khalsa College, we have Professor Ved Prakash sir, who is mentoring us. He's former chairman UGC. He'll be joining in the second session today. We have Professor Dr. A.K. Bakshi, who is founder VC PDM University Bahadurgarh, former VC UPRTU Allahabad, and former Executive Director Trustee Education Commission Mauritius, who will be taking the first session. And he has been again mentoring from such a long period since 2013 when we have got our very first center as a team. I also welcome you on behalf of Professor Jaswinder Singh, who is now former principal SGTB Khalsa College, University of Delhi. And also, I welcome you on behalf of Professor Sundar Kaur, who is acting principal at SGTB Khalsa College, University of Delhi. I also welcome on behalf of my entire organizing team who will be helping me in the conduct of this program, Professor Sarita Pasi from Zakir Hussain Delhi College, Professor Suvijin Varghese from St. John's College, Agra, Dr. Vinita Kapoor from Sri Venkateshwara College, DU, Dr. Kiran Bala from SL Bawa DAV College, Batala, Dr. Anuja Chauhan from AIU, Vikas Saxena from SPC Government College, Ajmer. So you can see truly our composition of the organizing team is national, and I welcome each one of you joining from nook and corner of our beautiful country, India. And this is me. I'm your host. I'm the coordinator of this center, and I will also like to share that I'm the member of expert committee who is evolving the guidelines for all these centers. It's still in the evolving phase, and very soon there will be face-to-face programs also that we will be bringing to you. So in this NEP orientation and sensitization program, first of all, I'll request each one of you, let us take the blessings of the God with this left line. UGC-MMTTC or Guru Angad Dev Malvi Mission Teacher Training Center has a state-of-art facility in terms of the training infrastructure, and we also have a unique place which is our own studio. This is a virtual studio where we have the entire chroma background and the virtual setup where we can have live setup and all. So very soon we'll be planning a face-to-face program where you can do the recording and editing on your own. And we had been doing successfully the conduct of various e-content development programs, the MOOCs, through our Center for E-Learning. That's where this team came forward, and we realized that teachers need more in terms of the hands-on training and the pedagogies towards the online and the blended learning. So in EPG Pathshala project, we have successfully completed 89 courses, each course having 35 to 40 modules. And out of these, for these 6 subjects, we can prepare 42 MOOCs also. And all this content is available on EPG Pathshala portal, which you can use in your own classroom and refer to your students as well. We are also in the process of developing open educational resource in the form of Teachers E-Kit, which is my own concept, and it has been accepted by ministry through this project, where now many teachers as groups are making these E-Kits, and these E-Kits are a tool where you can integrate technology, the various pedagogies along with your subject specific requirement, and give it as a model so that other teachers can also benefit in their classroom, and you also get benefit as API. This GAD-TLC, when we started, it was in 2016. And Till April 2020, we were conducting face-to-face events as well throughout the country. But since 1st April 2020, we started the online events, and I'm happy to share that it's more than 85,000 teachers that we have touched, and now we are starting a new phase, which will be taking it even further with a new type of programs, as we have been given mandate by the UGC and Ministry of Education. Our ARPIT program has been truly successful in the way, not only in terms of quality of the program, but also in terms of the enrollments. We were #1 out of the 42 such programs which were rolled out for 3 continuous years. But now so many online programs are happening, so the ARPIT is discontinued. But in the committee, we are working out on the leadership program, LEAP. We will be taking it in a new way. So GAD-TLC was selected as one of the 45 Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya Nation Mission teachers teaching centers out of 99 such centers which were working from 2015 onwards when the scheme was launched. And now we have the mandate of conducting NEP trainings for 15 lakh higher education teachers. If we talk about this particular initiative, the Ministry of Education sought the strengthening of the synergy and integration between HRDCs. All of you must be aware that Human Resource Development Centers, or they were earlier called as Academic Staff Colleges of UGC, they are 67 in number, and then there were PMMT centers. And in order to meet the objectives of NEP 2020, keeping in view the optimal utilization of infrastructure, human and financial resources, they all are now renamed. Only not everyone is selected. Only those 111 selected are now called as Malviya Mission Teacher Training Centers, and the entire capacity building effort is being popularized as Malviya Mission Teacher Training Program. So in a nutshell, now how you can understand, because you may be doing more programs from other centers also. So for any CAS, now only these centers are recognized, which are Malviya Mission Teacher Training Center, which are combination of 67 UGC HRDCs and 45 out of the PMMT centers who have been selected. This new phase of training, or the scheme you can say, also aims to implement the recommendation of NEP, namely to improve the quality of teaching at all levels and in all domains, to focus on equity and inclusion in higher education and promote online and digital education, ensure equitable use of technology, promote Indian language and culture, develop basic infrastructure facilities, create awareness about gender sensitization, include vocational education in the curriculum, develop leadership and management skills, create a pool of mentors and pedagogic experts who can take this further in each and every classroom, promote research and multidisciplinary education. So the vision of this new phase, which now you are all witnessing the change happening in our country in education system, is to build competencies in the faculty for better teaching, learning, and research by exposing them to Indian values, updating knowledge and skills, and aligning teaching, learning, and research with the needs of society and NEP 2020. So in a nutshell, you can see this statement encapsulates all which is there in NEP 2020, but then we all have to be knowing into more details. So this particular scheme was then launched on 5th September 2023 by the Honorable Minister of Education, Dharmendra Pradhan ji, who introduced this at Kaushal Bhavan. Now coming to this very particular NEP orientation and sensitization program, when we talk about this, the mandate given to 111 MMTTCs, not only to conduct these 8 days training program, but also they will be conducting faculty induction program. They'll also be conducting the short-term program, or FDPs, that you are aware, which are of 1 week duration. And then there will be also refresher program of 12 days or 2 weeks, which will be in the core subject or interdisciplinary area. In this particular thing, as I told you, we have the mandate is to train all 15 lakh higher education teachers, because the idea is, as we are going in the progress for the implementation of NEP, somehow there are teachers who become the members of the committees who are making this change, but they are not aware about the NEP. So that's where the Government of India, Ministry of Education, through UGC, has now planned that each and every teacher, they have to be understanding the spirit, the vision, and the implementation strategies, and how positively it can be implemented in each and every institution, and most importantly, in each and every classroom by you and by me and by all of us as teachers. So there are 8 core themes which have been identified. So this program will be giving still an overview. There is a detailed content framework which we have been provided to cover under these 8, and some more is also being added. But try to see where your strength is. Okay, where you already know, you can get more idea. But where is that you lack, that, okay, this is something, a new topic, I have not been exposed to this, then there will be detailed FDPs and programs conducted by various centers where you can join. So what are these 8 modules that we'll be covering in these 8 days? There will be 2 sessions each, and they need not be on the same day. We are doing mix and match so that the same person is not coming twice in the same to 2 sessions, so that from participant point of view, it becomes more better. You get 2 resource person in the same day. And we'll try that, okay, they are also covering different modules. So these 8 modules are holistic and multidisciplinary education, Indian knowledge system, academic leadership, governance and management, higher education and society, research and development, skill development, student diversity and inclusive education, and information and communication technology. So I welcome each one of you in this specific one, where we will start from today. The live sessions will be from 11 to 20th December, except Saturdays and Sunday. And it will be a 5 to 8 p.m. every day, whenever the schedule is there. And let me repeat the days. So 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, which will be in this week. Then 16th and 17th being Saturday and Sunday, we'll keep it off. And then we will have it on 18th, 19th, 20th. After this, there will be some gap where you can revisit, and we'll be giving you all these recorded videos, where followed by quizzes. There will be 2 quizzes on 23rd and 24th December. I will talk about this in detail tomorrow, but then let me very briefly tell you that for the completion of this program, that is when you get a completion certificate, you have to be giving 2 online quizzes, and the attendance and participation will be in a coupled mode. It will be automatic, it will be manual, it will be by the videos. My team is looking at the screen captures who all are attending, how much interactive they are, and including the feedback analysis, because in feedback we will be having 3 takeaways from every session. So please be vigilant, keep on making notes. There have to be 3 takeaways that you have to write in feedback form. So combined with that, will be given the attendance and participation, the marks 20. 2 quizzes will be of 40 marks each, and from each session, we are planning, there will be now 16 sessions. So each session will be having around 5 MCQs. So the total qualifying marks becomes 50, and let me make it very clear that no A plus or A or B grade will be given. It is simply a qualifying that if you secure more than 50 marks total, then you will be getting this participation certificate. And in this, it is not that you think that from attendance and quiz 1, I'll be getting 50. So let me not attempt the quiz 2. Please attempt both the quizzes. It is compulsory to have all the completion. Or if you think I am not attending and then I am attempting the quiz, so then also it will not qualify. You have to be attending. And attendance try to be as much as live, but then we'll be giving you the recorded session where you can watch it for your self-study and further progress. So day-wise feedback we'll be sharing with you. There will be 8 days. So 8 feedback forms will be day-wise, where I repeat again, there will be 2 sessions each day. And for both the sessions, apart from other feedback, we will be asking 3 takeaways for every session. And then there will be an overall feedback which you have to fill. And this is something again, which is a compulsory requirement for the completion of this particular program. So certificate of participation will be provided if all the assessment parameters, as I told you, are successfully completed. And the template of the certificate is uniform for all the centers, which has been made by the UGC. And no certificate will be provided if all assessment parameters are not successfully completed. And the decision of our center will be final in this regard. The registration is still open. We have some seats left in this particular batch. So you can tell your colleagues that by tomorrow around 11 or maximum 12, they can register. And the registration can be done either from the MMC portal or it can be done directly on our Google form and paying it to the TLC. So the moment you click on this form, all the details will be coming. One more very important thing before I request Professor Bakshi to be delivering his session is I want to be giving this disclaimer that the copyright of all the sessions is of respective speakers only. Please honor that. So without a prior written consent of the respective speaker, you may not use or upload or stream his or her content either as full video or as screenshot or publish in any other form. So this is something that we have to be ethically aware. So please do not, I've seen many people just continuously taking the screenshot and then using in their own presentation. This is something that it will be entirely decided by the speaker. So GAD-TLC or the UGC-MMTTC at SCTB Khalsa College has nothing to do, and all the statements given equally. So it goes responsible to the speaker also. Any statement that he or she is making is full in his or her authority, and it will be all like in the TV program that we are putting a disclaimer. So the entire responsibility of whatever said is on him or her, whoever is the speaker. Center has nothing to do with that. And the recorded videos of this program will be available on LMS for the participant to refer as self-study material and quiz till the completion of this very particular program. So we will not be making it a long thing, but the moment you complete, then will be. And one more important information that if by chance there is something that you are not able to attempt, then there will be only one more attempt given in our next program, because this is going to be a continuous series of program, not beyond that. So that's how the UGC has decided for the conduct of this very particular program. So let's all, first of all, start with a smiling face. I'm looking for a smiley from all of you in the chat. So good evening, each and everyone. And here we start the next very good batch of all of you joining here in a co-learning virtual platform with so many eminent speakers who will be helping us to deliver this program. And the very first speaker we have is Professor A.K. Bakshi sir. Let me very briefly introduce, although he is again a very known figure to most of you. So Professor Bakshi, a renowned academician and a former Sir Shankar Lal Professor of Chemistry in the University of Delhi, is the founding VC of PDM University, Bahadurgarh, Haryana. He has also been Executive Director of Tertiary Education Commission, Mauritius, a post equivalent to the UGC in India, And he has been also Vice Chancellor of UP Rajarshi Tandon Open University, Allahabad. He's also been Head Department of Chemistry, Director of CPDHE, the Academic Staff College of Delhi University, and also Institute of Lifelong Learning, and visiting professor at GGS IP University in Delhi. Professor Bakshi has also been the chairman of GAD-TLC prior to now getting into a self-sustainable mode. Member of the Standing Committee and National Mission on Education through ICT. He was also the chairman of the Content Advisory Committee for Chemistry for Sakshat portal of the MHRD, Government of India. A double gold medalist, record breaker, and recipient of several awards and academic honors, Professor Bakshi was felicitated 2 times for his outstanding contributions to education by former President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Professor Bakshi is the co-author of nearly 200 research and education articles, 1 patent. He has to his credit many books, e-books, as chairman, editor, author, co-author, and has contributed actively in EPG Pathshala and ARPIT modules. Professor Bakshi is one of the most sought-after speakers in the country, having delivered more than 400 invited lectures in just last 4 years on different aspects of education at various national and international platforms. He was also a member of a national writing team for chemistry 11th and 12th books for NCRT, and obviously very active at Indian Science Congress Association. He was also felicitated by the Union Minister Smriti Jubin Irani ji for his outstanding contribution as chairman GAD-TLC. He is also one of the first persons from universities in India to have been selected as a member scientist of research expedition to Antarctica. And this expedition built India's permanent base, Dakshin Gangotri in Antarctica. So welcome to you, sir. And we are looking forward to, I think, not only the very higher education in society part 1, but I will say his session is going to be motivational. He'll also try to give you an overview about how our roles are there, especially in the light of NEP 2020. So over to you, sir. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Professor Vimal, for your very kind words of introduction. And good evening to one and all. It's indeed a great pleasure to be a part of this NEP orientation and sensitization program of the UGC. And I extend my warm greetings to all the participants from all over the country. You know, it has already been told that this program is going to be for 8 working days, and it will cover various aspects of national education policy. One thing which I would like to mention at the beginning is that the ultimate aim of this program is your empowerment, so that you are able to do much better in your classroom, keeping in view the forthcoming challenges in higher education. So every lecture in a way will prepare you for that role, because all these lectures will be of no value if you cannot really translate what you learn in these lectures into reality in the classroom and empower the students. So these lectures have to be viewed from that perspective. And coming to this first lecture, let me first of all share my screen. So as you can see that this is the title of my talk, and in next about 80 minutes, I will cover this talk. And the title is In the Light of NEP 2020, empowering teachers for challenges in higher education in India in the 21st century. So this is the title of my talk, and I will talk about challenges. And as it has been written here, challenges are basically the opportunities in disguise. So it will tell you how you can make use of these opportunities and empower yourself. This is going to be a motivational talk based on NEP 2020, aimed at empowering higher education teachers so that they are able to succeed and thrive in the 21st century. And believe you me, this talk can prove to be a game changer for each one of you. This entire talk is based on my conceptualization and experience, and it will prepare you for success in your teaching profession as well as in your life. The basic thinking behind this talk is: give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Tell a man how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. So that's going to be the basic thinking behind this talk. This will be in two parts. In part first A, I will just briefly introduce about NEP 2020. See, if you look at the National Education Policy 2020, it is a 68-page document. But what is the spirit behind this policy? In order to understand that, you must be aware and clear of this fact that education is relevant and of quality only when it is able to serve the needs of the changing society. Otherwise, education loses its relevance. And in the 21st century, world is changing very, very fast. And mainly because of technological advancements. And therefore, education has to change accordingly. And that is what this national education policy aims at. This policy proposes various reforms in school and higher education, including technical education, that are suited to 21st century needs. And if you look at this document, NEP 2020 document, it is a visionary document which expresses the aspirations of the nation. And it aims at making India a global knowledge superpower. Knowledge superpower not only in dissemination of knowledge, but also in creation of knowledge, research. Then knowledge society. Knowledge society is the society where intellectual attainments are duly recognized. And then global study destination. Let's make India a big hub so that people and students from all over the world flock to India for their higher studies. So these are the three major aims of this new educational policy. And NEP 2020 plans and proposes to achieve these goals by making school and college education more holistic, flexible, and multidisciplinary. These three things are very important: holistic, flexible, and multidisciplinary. And there are 5 pillars on which this national education policy is based. And these pillars are access, quality, equity, affordability, and accountability. Everything will revolve around these 5 pillars and making education holistic, flexible, and multidisciplinary. Holistic development, when I say, it means the overall development, physical, emotional, mental, and social development. And equity, when I talk, which we will be talking very often in this program, equity means, as you can see on the right side, means you have to be fair. Equity is different from equality. Equality may not do justice, but equity does. So that is something you have to keep it in mind. Why I am focusing on this empowerment of the teachers? Please remember, the quality of an education system can never exceed the quality of its teachers. So if you want to raise the quality of an education system, you must raise the competence level of its teachers. And here we will talk about how to raise the quality or the competence of its teachers. And once teachers are empowered, they in turn will empower their students. So basically, we are aiming at empowering teachers to support student learning. Please don't forget that our greatest natural resource is the minds of our young children. India is one of the youngest nations of the world. 50% population less than 25 years, 65% less than 35 years. So it's a big, big advantage. And we need to ready our children for future. And to a great extent, the responsibility for this rests with you, the teachers. Please remember, students may be just 25% of our population, but then they are 100% of our future. Therefore, we have to be very, very careful in educating our students, our children. Because, a child miseducated is a child lost. We cannot afford to lose even a single child. So this thing must be always in your mind. It's very, very precious for all of us, this demographic dividend which we have. So having said this, now I will come to what are the traditional roles of a teacher in higher education. See, traditional roles of a higher education teacher are mainly three: to disseminate knowledge, that is teaching; to create knowledge, that is research and guiding research; and then academic administration and management. And a teacher is expected to excel in all these three roles. See, what I feel from my vast experience, that if you want to be an outstanding teacher or a researcher, you should have a very sound and deep knowledge in your discipline, very proficient in the practical skills. You should have a clarity of concepts, and your teaching should reflect the amount of thinking you have done on the subject. See, you are just not merely passing down the information. It should be very logical and systematical. And that comes only when you have done a lot of thinking. And then you should have the passion to become an outstanding teacher. This should be an inner urge. Yes, I have to be at the top. And then if you want to be an outstanding researcher, you need to be an out-of-box thinker. You should have an analytical mind. You should be innovative and creative. And then these 4 C's: curiosity, creativity, courage, and commitment. These are must for a researcher. And then both for outstanding teacher and researcher, you should have excellent communication and presentation skills. It's a must. Because no one will really take the pains to listen to your ideas if your communication is not effective and impressive. And communication and in presentation will basically reflect how logically and systematically you are thinking. Because what you speak, that ultimately reflects how you think. So both are very important. And each one of you, I know many of you are quite senior also, but most of you are young. You should make efforts to become an outstanding, communicator and presenter. And please remember, all the great speakers were bad speakers at first, but then they worked hard and reached to the top. Why not you? So this was my part A, where I have just given you a general introduction about the teaching profession and what is expected of you. Now we will come to the challenges in the 21st century, because you will have to face them and you will have to change yourself accordingly. First is the challenges of the present information age. We are living in an information age where you can just get any information just by a click of a mouse. And then, this age is age of uncertainty with respect to jobs. There is a Future of Jobs report published by the World Economic Forum, which says that 65% of the children entering primary school right now will be working in the jobs that don't even exist now. That means we do not know in which jobs our students will be placed tomorrow. So that way it is an age of uncertainty. World is changing so fast. Look at this. This is the changing job landscape in the world. And this landscape is changing because of the shift in the division of labor between humans and machines. This 97 million, the one which are in blue, those will be the new types of jobs which will be coming now. And 85 million are the traditional jobs which will slowly disappear. So that is how the job landscape is going to change. Second is that this is also an age of mass education. Every university, every college ultimately trying to increase the gross enrollment ratio. So this is an age where more students over the next 30 years will graduate than since the beginning of the recorded history. So traditional jobs are going to become less. Takers are going to be many. So there is going to be a tough competition for traditional jobs. So this is another challenge. And then this is also an age of artificial intelligence. This is an age where the artificial intelligence will equal the intelligence of the students by the time they finish their formal education. So the question is, if I can have machines with the same intelligence as you, then why do I need you? So that is what it is going to happen. And all these jobs are going to be in danger because of artificial intelligence, automation, or robotics. Those jobs which are repetitive are of predictable nature, which require no critical thinking, which require no critical analysis, and where there is no research base or no specialization. So you can very well imagine how things are changing. And now it is said that humans, this picture is of the brain. Humans may not be required for the so-called left brain functions. Look at the left brain functions: logic, analytical thinking, numbers, language. Because anything that can be measured by numbers can be solved by artificial intelligence models. So you need to focus more on right brain functions, creativity, emotional intelligence, empathy. These are the things which are going to be very important. And now something new is also coming: generative artificial intelligence. It is a type of artificial intelligence technology that can produce various types of content, including text, imagery, audio, or video clips. And these are totally going to change the world. Their applications will be in art and designing, content creation, healthcare, gaming, etc. And now it is said, and people are now saying that no one's job will be the same anymore. It will change so much. And the same is going to happen for the teaching job also. It will not remain the same. So you can very well imagine how things are changing. Therefore, as a teacher, challenge for you is going to be what to teach and how to teach, so that our children are successful in a future which is so uncertain. The second challenge which I feel is going to be very important in this century is the Sustainable Development Goals. You know, sustainable development is the burning issue in the world at present. Everybody talks about sustainable development these days. And sustainable development, basically, you mean that sustainable means which can be maintained for a long time, long term. And development is generally economic development. So sustainable development is the development which can be maintained for a long time. Why there is a concern for sustainable development in the world? Because, education ultimately needs to address to these concerns for creating a sustainable future. Why there is so much concern? Look at this. Population is exploding. The way the population is growing, by 2050, we will have 9.7 billion people in the world. Explosion. Then fast depletion of resources. Food, minerals, other natural resources are fast depleting. Then water scarcity is going to be a big problem. Water. There is an FAO report that by 2025, 1.8 billion people will be facing acute water shortage, scarcity. Then problem of environmental degradation. And then climate change. Already you must be knowing that these days we are having a climate conference, United Nations conference in Dubai, where Indian Prime Minister also went. Then rising sea level, then increase in atmospheric temperature. All these are the issues of concern. And education can play a very important role. People have to be made aware of not only the concerns, but also to find solution to the problem. That is why United Nations in 2015 gave 17 sustainable development goals, which are to be achieved by 2030. This is called United Nations Agenda 2030. India is also a signatory. That is why India is also so much actively involved. As a matter of fact, 193 countries, including India, are signatory to this agenda. They gave 17 goals, but no roadmap. Why no roadmap was given? Because world is full of diversity. What can be a roadmap in one area may not be in the other. And world is full of diversity, and the nature of the problem varies from region to region. So we are in 2023 or 2024, we are approaching. We have to achieve these goals by 2030. And these are 17 goals. You can see at the right side. All these goals ultimately are the common problems in the world which need to be addressed. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi long back in 2015 said, when this agenda came, that much of India's development agenda is mirrored in the Sustainable Development Goals. The whole world is trying to achieve these goals. Even our G20 agenda, the meeting which was held, ultimately it is committed to aligning its work with the United Nations Agenda 2030 for sustainable development. So you can very well understand this is going to be a real big practical problem. And in this, one goal is Sustainable Development Goal 4, that is quality education. And this goal says ensure inclusive and equitable quality education, and promote lifelong opportunities for all. And this agenda's SDG 4 came in 2015, along with other goals. And our new education policy, which came in 2020, that is also aligned with this SDG 4. You should be aware of this, that various provisions of NEP 2020 are basically based on this SDG 4. So this is a big challenge, how education can help us achieve these goals. So this was the second big challenge. First was the technological advancements, which I told, information age. Third now is what are going to be the 21st century learning needs? That could be the next question in your mind. See, it is now said in the 21st century, if you want to excel, you need at least two things. One is rigorous academic content. You should be very good in the subject. And second is 21st century skills. These two taken together constitute what is called deeper learning. And these 21st century skills are a set of abilities which we all must have if we want to succeed in this 21st century. And these 21st century skills are these. You can see here. They come under three categories: learning skills, literacy skills, and life skills. Learning skills means critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication, 4 C's. Literacy skills, information literacy, media literacy, technology literacy, IMT. Life skills, flexibility, leadership, initiative, productivity, and social skills. Taken together, these are 12 skills. These 21st century skills were invented by the United States agency long back, thinking how the future will be. And these personal skills are going to be the deciding factor in this information age for placement. If you have these skills, they will elevate your job performance. Why they have become so important? Because you cannot have machines with these skills. Therefore, those humans who have these skills, they will have an edge over the others. Artificial intelligence, as a matter of fact, cannot replicate them. So these skills are going to be very, very important. So in 21st century, skills are important, subject is important, and one more thing which makes the quality education in the 21st century is this. I think this is the best slide you should remember always in your mind. For any profession, ultimately quality education will focus on these three things: knowledge, disciplinary knowledge, interdisciplinary knowledge, and practical knowledge. That is one aspect. Then 21st century skills, about which I just talked, plus domain-specific skills. In which subject you are, there are certain specific skills for that. For physics, for chemistry, for economics, for mathematics, all that. And the third is personality, values, attitudes, traits, disposition, etc. And these three things taken together constitute your competence. So when we say we must raise or enhance the competence of our teachers, we should need to improve these three things in them: knowledge, skills, and personality. And now all universities are basically focusing on skill enhancement courses and then value-added courses, VACs. Because when we were students, we focused only on knowledge. Nobody taught us about these skills or personality. Even if personality was there, they thought everybody would have some personality. But if you look at IAS, civil services, there is an interview called personality test. There you find out what are your values, attitude, how you approach a problem. That's basically the thing. And that's why, modern day, all educational institutions are trying to create conducive learning environment and adequate infrastructure for this quality education. Skills are going to be a very important factor in this quality education. See, skills have become so important that look at these. These are some of the big companies. They are now hiring people without academics, without degrees. They are going beyond academics. The rules of the game are changing. So skills are going to be a primary goal of education in the 21st century. Please remember that. What do these companies do? They use some skill-based aptitude test and psychological profiling to recruit the people. And slowly things are changing. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, what I want you to know in mind is you need to acquire competence for excellence in any profession through quality education. This is something you have to keep it in mind. Every profession needs competent people. And that should be the goal of education, to produce them for various professions. And this competence is determined by these three things: knowledge, skills, and personality. Knowledge may vary, skills may vary depending upon what type of profession you are talking. If you are in IAS, you need knowledge of different type. You need skills of different type. You need a different set of personality values. If you are a journalist, different. If you are a teacher, different. So, engineer, different. So, that is, but this ultimately, everybody will need these three things. And you know, these days we also talk about outcome-based education. What is outcome ultimately? Outcome is not something coming from the top. Outcome is a mixture of these three things: knowledge, skills, and personality. So competencies, basically outcomes are these three things. Next challenge which I want you to keep it in mind as a teacher is need of creative and innovative minds in India. There is a dearth of creative and innovative minds in India. There is a crisis of innovation and creativity in Indian education system. Look at the fact, no Indian scientist working in India has been able to get Nobel Prize after 1930. C.V. Raman was the last person who got it in for the discovery of the Raman effect in 1928. Nobel Prize came in 1930 in physics. Chemistry, nobody has ever got while working in India. These people did get Nobel Prizes, but they were non-resident Indians. Even Amartya Sen is a Nobel laureate in economics, but for years he has been staying abroad. Abhijit Banerjee is an American citizen. So you can see there is some problem. Why we are not able to reach up to that level? But one thing you should remember, Nobel Prize is not a lifetime achievement award. If you really want to excel in research at that level, see, I have personally worked with the Nobel laureate in Japan. These three things are important besides many others: enormous amount of creativity and open-mindedness, willingness to collaborate. You know, we teach our children to be highly competitive. They become so competitive that they look at every other person as a competitor. Then it becomes difficult for them to collaborate. Then we also need perseverance and resilience. Bounce back if there are failures and keep on working. You know, sometimes in India, we want immediate gains. If you have a research project, you want a world-class outcome in 1 or 2 years. No, that doesn't work. I remember one Nobel Prize winner in chemistry got Nobel Prize at the age of 97. So you need to keep on working. And no, because of this poor quality of our research programs, our ranking, if it is not up to that world level, it is mainly because of that. And so one of the main reasons for poor world ranking of our higher educational institutions is poor quality of our research programs. As a matter of fact, I was reading other day in a report that 99% of India's higher educational institutions do not contribute significantly to the content or knowledge creation. Average research. And in sciences, I feel best students sometimes don't come to research. They don't come. And this was a recent report. Just look at this. I just read it, I think 3-4 days back. Best science students are going to civil services. This was the report which was presented in Rajya Sabha. Between 2017 to 2021, over 76% students, candidates who got selected were from science stream covering engineering, sciences, and medicine. Only 23.6% were from humanities. So why do we lack in quality research? Have you ever thought? Or why you are also not able to do very high quality research? Who will do introspection for you? I think it's basically because of our education system. There is a fundamental flaw in our education system. And just watch this video.
For decades, people have been finding hundreds of flaws in the education system. No conceptual understanding, no creativity, children are stressed, and the list goes on. All these are symptoms. But what is the root cause to all this? What is the fundamental flaw in the education system? Let us play a rapid-fire game. You have 1 second to answer every question. Let's start. First question. A4? Okay, no more questions. Did you think apple first? 98% of people are most likely to think so. Because that was what we were told in our kindergarten. Imagine that this was done differently. Say we had asked you for all the words starting with A. Ant, ace, April, apt. Different answers would have popped out of everyone's head. Do you see where the problem is? Before children start going to school, every child is unique. Every child thinks different. But the education system makes every child think the same. This is the fundamental flaw in the education system. Why did this start? During the Industrial Revolution in the 18th century, the education system was designed to make children ready to work in factories. The factories did not require people to think, but to only work like robots. So, the education system stripped children of their freedom to think and destroyed their true potential. The same education system continues even today. Only the industries have changed. A study by NASA shows that 98% of children think different before they start going to school. As they go through this education system, at 25 years of age, only 2% think different, and 98% think the same. So how does the education system make every child the same? Let's go back to the apple example. Kindergarten lessons told us that A is for apple. We asked you for words that start with A. Our education system gave us the answers. We asked you a question. Answers make you the same. Questions make you different. Right from kindergarten, the education system keeps giving answers. Instead of asking children how plants make food, the science teacher gives you the definition of photosynthesis. Instead of asking them to describe the sun, the teacher tells them that the sun is a ball of fire at the center of the solar system. Through their years in school, children lose the capability to think on their own. Whether it is their choice of career or their relationship or any situation in life, they become.
So you can see how our education system keeps giving ready-made answers to the various questions, and then the same questions we generally ask in the examination. And in the process, our children lose the capability to think on their own. So how you can expect them to do good research? Creativity is almost gone. So our education system is outdated and does not encourage thinking, innovation, and creativity amongst students. And please remember, without creativity, there can be no progress. And then we would be forever repeating the same pattern. That is why, the new education policy, if you look at it, it has created the National Research Foundation. It is an apex body which will foster a strong research culture and build research capacity in the country. It will do the funding. It will give awards for the outstanding research which has been funded by NRF, etc. And this NEP 2020, there are going to be the 4 main divisions of this National Research Foundation. science, technology, social sciences, arts and humanities. Budget, because it was just created recently, the budget for the next 5 years is almost 50,000 crores. But still, who will give the idea? That is the question mark. That should change because education system will have to change. Another challenge which I think is very important, and that is need to enhance quality of higher education imparted in India. You know, in education, 3 things are very important. What do you teach? That is curriculum. Then how do you teach? That is the pedagogy. And then how do you assess your students? So these are the 3 fundamental things which are important. And the change agent is, of course, the teacher. But if you look at the country, India's education system, we have 21st century students. But the subject content which we teach sometimes is of the 19th century. Methods of teaching are old, out 20th century. Assessment methods and courses architecture is also almost of the 20th century. We have not changed. We need to address to the needs of the changing society. That is not happening. Look at curriculum. Curriculum basically means the total learning experience in any course. And the biggest challenge which is coming to the curriculum is from the growth of knowledge. The knowledge in all disciplines is growing very, very fast. So fast that the doubling time of the growth of knowledge has shrunk considerably. Shelf life is becoming shorter. You know, there was a time when human knowledge was getting doubled in 150 years. But now this is getting doubled in almost 73 days. So you can very well imagine how soon our knowledge is getting outdated. In any discipline, what you know is a drop, and what you do not know is an ocean. Please remember that. And that is why the new education policy says we should have a modern syllabi, light syllabi. Why light syllabi? So that there is more time for thinking, because education is not the learning of the facts. It is the training of the mind to think. So curriculum needs to change. Who will change? The teachers only. Then generally we have outdated syllabi. Outdated syllabi, you know, increase the gap between what is learned and what should be learned. And this affects the quality of research. You know, if we are not able to become leaders in many fields and we are merely followers, one reason is outdated syllabi of our education. Then there is also a lack of coordination between school and higher education. You know, he is Professor C.N.R. Rao Bharat Ratna. He says that 90% of the universities in India have outdated curriculum. Where the world is and what we are teaching. So much difference. That is why, you know, when you go abroad, they ask you to do bridge courses so that you fill that gap. In this 21st century, as I have mentioned, we need to have skill-based and industry-led curriculum. Because, you know, the world is slowly shifting towards skill-based economy, as I mentioned earlier. More emphasis is going to be on practical knowledge and on hands-on experience. And now it is said, future belongs to those who learn more skills and combine them in creative ways. And then teachers also need to be trained. You know, teachers sometimes teach skills the same way as they teach knowledge. Please remember, knowledge is knowing, that is theoretical. Skill is practical. They need different methods of teaching. This I would skip. Second point which is important is pedagogy. Pedagogy is how we teach. Pedagogy basically is art and science of teaching. That is what we call as pedagogy. We still have, unfortunately, the same traditional talk and chalk method of teaching, which is a teacher-centric approach, mainly a monologue. You cannot explain many concepts on the board. Then it presumes all students learn in identical fashion. That's a big flaw in our system, because we have different types of learners. Then you can't solve many problems in the class due to the paucity of time. Then it is slow and time consuming. And then in India, in many universities and colleges, we have large classroom. For one teacher, there are sometimes 100 students. You cannot pay individual attention. These are some of the limitations of the talk and chalk method. And then our method of teaching, unfortunately, focuses more on examination, rote learning, and scoring high marks. This is today's reality in every subject. Nobody wants to learn the concept. Everybody wants to score 90 plus marks. See, irony of our country is we are focusing more on well-filled mind. Keep on filling the minds of the young people with more and more knowledge. But what we need is well-formed mind. The mind which comes out of thinking, innovation, and creativity. Because real education must transform the learners. Just as a seed gets transformed to a plant and a plant gets transformed to a tree. So, what I mean is that the era of rote learning is over now. We have to change. And please remember, strong foundations for quality research are also laid during this teaching learning. We became research based on what we were taught in our universities and colleges. And if we are not good, somewhere problem is there. Our training was lacking. Teaching learning basically should include an in-depth understanding of the topics, interconnection of the topics, clarity of concepts, etc. So all this is when the teacher can do that. And one thing you should remember, learning is not the product of teaching as it is generally believed. Learning is the product of the activity of the learners. Therefore, in the 21st century, we need to engage learners. Let them do the things. Then they will never forget. And the basic thinking behind learner-centric education is that students learn best when they are engrossed in the topic, motivated to seek out new knowledge and skills, because they need them in order to solve the problem at hand. Let them find out what they need. Let them think. Give them a problem. Let them find out what they do not know and how to find out. And in this information, you can find out everything. So this is the basic thinking of learner-centric education. Experiential learning, we talk. Experiential learning is learner-centric education. And what is the basis of experiential learning? I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I do and I understand. So doing is important. So this experiential learning should be a part of our teaching pedagogy from childhood, from school level. Because by the time learners or students come to higher education, I think it's already very late. You can't change their mindset. And that's why, new education policy says fostering experiential learning and critical thinking among students is an important objective of NEP 2020. This experiential learning needs to be adopted at all levels. But the question is, how will you introduce experiential learning in your classroom? We need to have a separate program on that. We talk about experiential learning, but when a question comes of its implementation in the classroom, how to do, that becomes a problem. And these are the advantages of experiential learning. Look at the retention rate of a lecturer, it is 5%. And if you do experiential learning, retention rate is almost 75%. Because you do with your hand, you practice, you interact, you do everything, you will never forget it. And learner-centric education has many methods: problem-based learning, project-based learning, case studies, inquiry-based learning, flipped classroom. I think we will talk about all these in this program. Collaborative learning, which is think, pair, and share strategy, community outreach, travel, cultural exchanges, all these are learning experiences. Internship, UG research program. Why they have introduced research program at UG level? Because let them do something, they will learn something, etc. Now, for example, look at this flipped classroom model is becoming so popular in the world. Here, what you can do as a teacher is you create a video lecture based on any topic which you are teaching and share it with the student. Let the students watch the video lecture at home 1, 2, 3 times, and then they prepare questions for the teacher. This is clear, this is not clear, why this, like that. Then a teacher facilitate discussion, answer students' question, students ask question, all students interact, they participate in the learning activities, and teacher's role is very important here. So, I know in many countries, they have already introduced flipped classroom model. So, why not you? Because each one of you has a unique strength. You should remember and cache it. You may not be good in everything, but in whatsoever you are very good, share it with the students by preparing a video lecture. And you also sometimes know what are the common misconceptions in the minds of the young students. Try to clarify them through the video lectures. And through learner-centric education, the biggest change which will occur is the roles of the learners will change. In the talk and chalk method, they are merely passive listener. But now they will become active, highly independent, and creative thinker. This will cultivate what we say as intellectual curiosity in their minds, which is the need of the hour. And all this is possible in this information age because any information you want now, there is no problem. Look at some of these leading universities of the world, Harvard, Stanford, Wharton. They focus more on case studies, experiential learning, project-based, problem-based learning, collaborative learning, very little emphasis on lecture-based learning. But we still have the same 14, 15, 16 lectures per week, focus more on that, writing on blackboard. Things have not changed. What will the policy do if we do not change? Please remember, if we teach today's student as we taught yesterday, we are going to rob them of tomorrow. We will have to change for the sake of the students. Teachers must change with the changing times. This was my article about creativity crisis in the Indian education system, in Education Times of the Times of India. This is about flipped classroom. And then comes the assessment. Third part in education is how we assess our students. And the new education policy says we need to transform the culture of assessment. Because assessment drives learning. The way you will assess your students will start learning in that way. So it can be a good way to enhance the quality of education in the country. Our examination system, unfortunately, is still rote-based, mainly about textbook content, testing facts, definitions which are given in the textbook. Anything coming outside the textbook is branded, out of syllabus or even protested. So how will you learn? And then our traditional examinations do not assess the skills which industry needs. Therefore, assessment process needs to be made more scientific to encourage multiple skills of the students. What we want our students to learn or to achieve That should be done through assessment. Analytical skills, critical thinking, conceptual clarity, all that can be done. For example, look at, and in all this assessment, teachers can play a very important role. We have about 4 crore students in higher education in the country. Ours is the second largest system of higher education in the world. So in this assessment, competence, creativity, and the skills of the teachers matter the most. For example, look at the cognitive domain, knowledge. I'm just giving you one example. Cognitive learning is a 6-level step, starting from remembering, understanding, application, up to creativity. Look at this, these 6 levels. So we can also say that cognitive learning takes you from lower order thinking skill to higher order thinking skills. These are the 6 learning outcomes. Now, assessment should also test each learning outcome, whether that has been achieved or not. So you should be able to set questions accordingly, which test each thinking skill. So that becomes a challenge for the teacher. That is why, it said these are the assessment tools which you can use for the cognitive domain. Look at this. This is a very good slide. For lower order thinking skill, remembering, understanding, application, you can use MCQs, short question answer, match, fill in the blanks, etc. But for higher order thinking skill, MCQs won't work or short question answer won't work. You need to have projects, internship, e-portfolios, field. So an ideal assessment structure should have a blend of both these tools, this and this. That will be a comprehensive assessment. But do we do? No, not at all. For example, most of the exams, unfortunately, I sometimes feel most of them are MCQ based. MCQs may be very convenient, but they do not test all the thinking skills. Another challenge is we need to embrace technology and become tech savvy. This is a big, big challenge in this 21st century because it is difficult to imagine education without technology in the 21st century. And even NEP 2020 says that the relationship between technology and education at all levels is bidirectional. Technology enhances the quality of education, and enhanced quality of education then further helps in improving the technology. So they feed on each other. Look at this, how much we are dependent on internet. What happens in 1 internet minute, you can see here. 16 million text messages are sent in 1 minute, 900,000 logins on Facebook, for example, 3.5 million search questions on Google, and so on. Japan is coming out with the internet, which is going to be 100,000 times faster than the current speed. You can see how the world is going to change. And a few days back, I read Huawei, which is the Chinese company. It is coming out with the world's fastest internet, which can transmit about 150 movies per second. Just imagine, 150 movies per second. Its speed is going to be 1.2 terabits per second. Terabit is, I think, 10 to the power 12. So fast the world is changing. So you can see, you will have to change accordingly. That is the slide which I showed in the beginning. Education is relevant only when it is able to serve the needs of the changing society. It should not happen, we teach 19th century and we are in the 21st century. But technology should be used strategically. Our students, unfortunately, are using so much technology that they have, stopped thinking. This has adversely affected their creativity. They cannot think. They cannot even, sometimes I feel, they have forgotten the habit of writing by hand. That is so much dependent. That is bad. But still, during Corona, you agree how ICT changed the higher education scenario. Teaching learning has changed. E-learning and MOOCs have come. experimental work, virtual labs have come, revision of syllabi through email or discussion forum. In research, so many ICT tools have come. Online examinations are becoming popular. Professional development, look at this program is also online. Then ICT empowered pedagogies have come. Just see how world has changed. 5-6 years back, nobody would have talked of all these things. And in next few years, the way the things are changing, all this will also become outdated. And then India is slowly entering an era of education 4.0, which is total technology mediated education. See, in history, there have been various industrial revolutions. Currently, we are having Industrial Revolution 4 and 5. And the corresponding education is 4.0 and education 5.0. What is this? Basically, Industrial Revolution, education system, and society are all interlinked. Every historical industrial revolution creates a system of education that addresses its needs. Because for workforce for any industrial revolution has to come out of the education system. So it will have to change. And this further brings about changes in the society. So Industrial Revolution 4.0, then Education 4.0 and Society 4.0, they are all interlinked. So this is the link, you should keep it in mind. This was my recent article in Times of India, how Education 4.0 will work for coming generations. And these are going to be the technologies of the future. We will talk about it later on in some other course. Artificial intelligence, robotics, virtual reality, Internet of Things, augmented reality, data science, gamification. This is just to give you an idea. But please remember, technology, whatsoever it may do, technology will never be able to replace great teachers. Those who have analytical mind, think on their own. But technology in the hands of great teachers can be transformational. You be a great teacher and then also become tech savvy. That combination can do wonders. Unfortunately, people are trying to become more tech savvy, but they have lost touch with their own subject. That's wrong. You are a teacher first and then tech savvy. This was my article in Times of India about technology won't replace teachers. So, ladies and gentlemen, education in future is going to be an amalgamation of the transformations driven by Education 4.0, 5.0, NEP 2020, pandemic, emerging student needs, and new tech. All these will ultimately, amalgamate to give the new face to education. And in the light of all this, the roles of the teachers are also going to change now. In the 21st century, your roles are going to be different. What I said in the beginning, roles are now different. And now some teachers are worried that perhaps there will be no students to teach anymore in near future as technology might take over teaching our students. So many sources of knowledge, YouTube, Google, wherever you go, you will get every subject. So that is why there is a question mark over the future of teaching profession. That is why now research will become more important. And in the light of the changing scenario, roles of the teachers are going to be different. Now even robot teachers are coming. For example, this is an artificial intelligence empowered teacher. Here students ask questions via command and they answer with 100% precision. These are the robot teachers which may replace human teachers in future. And you can very imagine, this is just the beginning. In 5 years, they will be everywhere in higher education, everywhere. Just imagine what the scenario will be at that time. But artificial intelligence cannot do research. So those who are active researchers, they will continue to flourish. So these are going to be the new roles. You need to become tech-savvy teachers in ICT skills. Because tomorrow, if students are enrolled in e-learning or MOOCs, as is the UGC regulation that 40% of the courses in any one semester you can do using MOOCs on the SWAYAM platform. So if students have some queries, who will answer? It is the teacher. So you must learn how to manage virtual classroom and discussion forum. You should also be familiar with learner-centric pedagogies, which I told, problem-based learning, project-based learning, all those things. So you will be more like coaches or facilitators rather than the knowledge provider. There was a time when teacher was considered to be the only source of knowledge, but not now. And then you should also be proficient in the development of e-content and MOOCs. So many MOOCs are there, so much e-content is there. Who has done that? Teachers. So for that, you need to be a very good teacher, having a good command over the subject, and then excellent writing skills. So these are going to be some of these new roles. So ladies and gentlemen, what I really want you is that a change of mindset is required now. Don't think that what I know is enough. No, forget that. What I know is enough will not work. I must learn more. This is a very famous quote: birds born in a cage think flying is an illness. You have to change your mindset. Flying is not an illness. So those birds have to change their mindset. So the key to meeting challenges of higher education in future lies in the regular empowerment of teachers. That is why this program is being done. Each of our speakers are top speakers, national level experts. They will tell you how to empower teachers. But ultimately, you have to implement them in the classroom. Now I come to the last part. I would like to share with you some personality development tips for enhancing competence. Because if you remember, I told at one stage, your competence is determined by three things: knowledge, skills, and personality. Here I will talk about personality, because if your personality is weak, it can adversely affect your competence. So that is why I think this is important. And by personality, I don't mean looks. It refers to a set of traits and behaviors that characterize an individual. Why this is important? Look at this statement. 87% of all people fail, not because of capability, but because of personality. And then they do not know that their personality is coming in the way of their job performance. See, you meet so many of your colleagues and others. Sometimes you're not get along with some people. Not that they are not capable, but personality is like that. You cannot get along. So personality can become a big stumbling block in the growth of relations. And if you have the right personality, it can transform your future. Therefore, I am sharing with you some personality development tips in the form of life lessons to enhance your competence. One thing you should remember: life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Therefore, once what Chanakya said, learn from the experience and mistakes of others, because you may not live long enough to make all of them on your own. So I'm sharing my experience, what I learned, because nobody told us all these things, what I'm going to tell you. So it will save you time. It will save you having your own experience. So first is that you should learn the art of living also. See, you are in this world to live, not only to do teaching or to do other things. Just art of living is very important. Most people, unfortunately, only exist. Living is becoming rare, I think. And please remember, you only live once. But if you do it right, I think one is more than enough. When I say art of living, it means the capability to draw pleasure from life and to succeed in the greatest test called life. Life itself is a big test. So you should draw the maximum pleasure and live it fully. Unfortunately, in India, look at this World Happiness Report. India ranks 136th People are not happy. They are stressed, always thinking something negative. Mindset is like that. And, that is why they are not able to work. Maybe we are also one of them. And please remember, you will never find a happy life. You will have to make life happy for you. Life will continue like that. Fill it with the right moments to make it happy. This is a very good quote. दुनिया जिसे कहते हैं जादू का खिलौना है, जो मिल गया वो मिट्टी और जो ना मिला वो सोना है. This is the common mindset. So just live fully. And this is one good quote which I read. जिंदगी बहुत कुछ देकर भी किसी ना किसी चीज के लिए फकीर बनाए रखती है. Nobody will be fully contented. Always looking for something more, something. Life is not fair, but then you have to accept it. Otherwise, time will pass and the life will also be over. Then be proactive in life. This is very important. If you are proactive, you focus on preparing. If you are reactive, you end up focusing on repairing. So be proactive in life. Proactive people don't wait for the ship to come in, they swim out to it. So that should be your main. Think beforehand and do it. One more thing which I feel very important is self-belief is something which all of you should have. And whatsoever things I am telling you, you should pass it on to your students also. Not only you should cultivate, but then your students should also be able to cultivate all that. Believe in yourself. Because in order to succeed, we must first believe that we can. So self-belief becomes very important. Look at this quote. A bird sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking because her trust is not in the branch, but in her own wings. That is what you need. Have self-confidence, have self-belief. And one who believes in himself, then he has no need to convince others. That's all. Just keep it. This is very important. Then no to arrogance. Sometimes, a small success goes into your head. This has become very common these days, I have noticed. Why this? What is this? Why become arrogant? And the basis of arrogance is ego. That should not be there. Arrogance is the surest path to failure. Look at this quote. कभी किसी चीज का घमंड आ जाए तो शमशान का एक चक्कर लगा आना, तुमसे बेहतरीन लोग वहां राख बने पड़े. Just keep this in mind. Remember that you are dust and to dust you shall return. So if you keep this reality of life always in mind, you will never become arrogant. Success will never go into your head. This is just a passing phase where ups and downs keep on happening. Self-discipline is another. Self-discipline, I means, mastery over your thoughts. If you can control what you think, you can always control what you do. So try to develop self-discipline, because the heaviest burden that we carry are the thoughts in our head. So there is nothing in this world that can trouble you more than your own thoughts. So self-discipline can help you here. Because you do not know what will happen, but you will keep on thinking that will lead you nowhere. So if you can learn self-control, you can master anything. Start practicing it. Yes, it is possible. Even I have tried it and I have been successful to a great extent. Although I tried quite late. And this self-discipline also brings in you mental toughness, which is sometimes the requirement when you have to focus on and execute solutions, especially in the face of adversity. You need to be a mentally tough people at some situation. So this self-discipline can help you. And please remember, always strive for excellence. Excellence should be the key word. A penguin can never be giraffe, so try to be the best penguin you can be. So whatever line you are, try to be the best in that. Be positive and honest. Have a positive mindset. This is very important. Look at this. This person is getting 11 marks out of 10. Always positive thinking will pay you. And we come across people who are both positive and negative thinkers. Positive thinkers will have a solution for every problem. Negative thinkers will have a problem for every solution. So try to be positive. Then, one more thing which I feel is important as youngsters, you must know. I'm sure you must be very hardworking, but work hard sensibly. In respect of working hard, direction is more important than speed. So choose your direction very, very carefully because you are spending a part of your life on that. Of course, you are free to choose any direction, but then you are not free from the consequences of your choice. So choose your direction very, very carefully. And please remember, life is a process. No one rises suddenly in this world. Not even the sun. So be persistent, keep on working in the right direction. Never give up. Then many of us are not able to make a mark in our life because we start living in a comfort zone. You have to come out of comfort zone. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. Please remember that. It's only after you have stepped out of your comfort zone that you begin to change, grow, and transform. Many people think, oh, I'm getting good salary, my husband or wife getting good salary, children are well set, why should I work? So then, then it means they are now in a comfort zone. Then fear of failure, you also need to overcome. This is a very famous quote. जब तक तुम डरते रहोगे, तुम्हारी जिंदगी के फैसले कोई और लेता रहेगा. So overcome fear of failure. Failures can be the pillars of success depending on how you take them. You take them as a stepping stone. Fail is first attempt in learning. Take it like that. And please remember, your attitude towards failure determines your altitude after failure. Again, mindset comes. How you view your failure as. Then stop worrying and start living. These are small things. As a matter of fact, I have one full lecture on that, but I'm just quickly telling you because you will immediately understand what I mean, and this can change your life. Because, worry is a misuse of your imagination. We sometimes worry more in imagination than in reality. The whole process becomes a problem for us. And one day you will look back and realize that you worried too much about things that don't really matter. But by the time you realize, it would already be too late. The time would have been lost. And the best thing is, you should always worry about the things which are in your control and not about the things which are out of your control. Out of your control means what happens around me, what other people think of me, what will be the outcome of my efforts, what will be the action of others, what will be the future. These are not in your control. Why you worry? What is in your control is your attitude, your focus, your efforts. Just focus on that. Don't waste time impressing others. Look at this quote. This is very good. If you knew how quickly people forget the dead, you would stop living to impress people. Don't worry. Live your own life. This is only one life. You may be 30, 40, 50, 60, whatsoever your age, maybe that time has gone. Now you can't do anything. But the rest of the life, you can live the way I am telling you. It will change your life. Control anger. Anger is also a very normal emotion. But please remember that the fire of anger always burns you first. So control it. Never say mean words out of anger because your anger will pass, but your mean words can scare a person for life. Use either kind words or rather be silent. This is again coming under self-discipline. Whenever you get angry, just stop. Control. But one thing you should remember, psychology says that beneath anger, there always lies some fear. Think over it. And this is a very useful tip for each one of you. किसी पर ज्यादा नाराज होने से बेहतर है कि अपने जीवन में उसकी अहमियत को ही कम कर दो. This can be a good tip in our day-to-day life. And then time management is very important. No doubt, I don't need to tell you. This is a very famous Amitabh's quote. What we normally do is, कल खो दिया आज के लिए, आज खो दिया कल के लिए. कभी जी ना सके हम आज, आज के लिए बीत रही है जिंदगी कल, आज और कल के लिए. Time passes, people change. So please remember, every day is once in a lifetime. This 11th December 2023 will never come again. So the thinking is that you should invest your time, don't spend it. Time is what we want most, but unfortunately what we use worst. And please remember, today is the tomorrow you worried about yesterday. Don't let it go like that. बंदी है हाथ पर सबके घड़ियां, मगर पकड़ में किसी के एक लम्हा भी नहीं. You know, this is one song which I like, but it is good. Look at these people. Look at this, you know, all these were big, big people. Nobody thought sometime that this will happen to them. See how time changes. वो कहते हैं ना, समय और भाग्य परिवर्तनशील हैं. हमेशा इनसे डर के रहिए. Therefore, the best thing is you should live in the moment. Don't think too far. The present moment is the only moment available to us, and it is the door to all the moments. Life becomes more meaningful when you realize the simple fact that you will never get the same moment twice. Live in the present, live in the moment. Sometimes, you know, you will never know the true value of a moment until it becomes a memory. And then, just I will take 4 or 5 minutes and then I'm stopping. Have a very high opinion of yourself. Having a low opinion of yourself is not modesty. It's a self-destruction. You know, hold yourself in high regard, in high esteem. It is a necessary precondition for happiness and success. Think high of yourself. You are unique. You are unique. No one can match you. You may not be perfect in many things, agreed, but many things cannot be perfect without you also. So stay special in your own little ways. So ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, your biggest competition is with you only. Be your own king. You become the master of your mind, not the puppet of your mind. And you are your king if you know how to rule yourself. So whatsoever I have told you, ultimately it amounts to ruling yourself. And that can change your life. You don't have the problem, you are the problem. स्वर्ग भी तू है, नरक भी तू है. इन दोनों का फर्क भी तू. जिंदगी छोटी नहीं होती, लोग जीना ही देरी से शुरू करते हैं. जब तक रास्ते समझ में आते हैं तब तक लौटने का वक्त हो जाता है. That's why I told you this should not happen with you. Live your life. And it's never too late to be what you might have been. Challenges keep us fresh. You know, there is a very famous quote, a ship is safe in harbor, but that's not what ships are built for. Similarly, you know, humans are not designed to be happy in status quo. So continue to remain dissatisfied so that you can get better and better. Challenges are what keep us fresh. That's why I told you all the challenges in higher education. Don't take every challenge as a problem, take every problem as a challenge. Challenges can be the doorways to excellence. These provide you unique opportunities. And you know, I have told you so many things. If you just try to work accordingly, this can change your life. And then make use of the opportunity. Look at this quote: when the winds of change blow, some people build walls while others build windmills. So it's up to you how you make use of the opportunities. And these are some of the habits of the most successful people in the world. You should acquire that: strategic planning and deliverance, laser sharp focus and determination, risk-taking ability, courage, hard work and consistency, never give up attitude, health and fitness. Health and fitness is also very important. And these are the lessons people learn too late in life. But please remember, these are the lessons everybody will have to learn sooner or later. Everything is temporary in this world. Life is not fair, so don't complain. Beneath anger is always fear. Things don't matter that much, but people do matter. Once people leave your life, they create a vacuum. But then that's part of life. A lifetime is not very long. You may be 30, 40, 50-year-old. So much time has gone, rest will also pass. You will not even realize. You played it too safe. You should have taken risks also in life. And then life has no reset button. Live every day like it's your last day. And all this realization comes to everybody in one's life sooner or later. But generally, by the time these realizations come, it's too late. That's why I told you all these things. This is one song which I like. I don't know. Just listen to this.
But I think the audio is not working with the song.
जिंदगी क्या दुनिया है मौज दरिया खतरे की जिंदगी क्या पानी में मिलके पानी अंजाम ये के पानी पानी में मिलके पानी अंजाम ये के पानी दम भर को सांस ले ले दम भर को सांस ले ले ये जिंदगी के मेले दुनिया में कम न होंगे अफसोस हम न होंगे बहारें उल्फत की यादगारें होंगी यही बहारें उल्फत की यादगारें और बनेगी दुनिया यही रहेगी बिगड़ेगी और बनेगी दुनिया यही रहेगी झमेले होंगे यही झमेले ये जिंदगी के मेले दुनिया में कम न होंगे अफसोस
This is just the last slide. I just want to show. What is this gone? Okay. Just 1 minute. One day you will be just, this song which I showed you, that was a film which came 70 years ago. I somehow like this lyrics. And देखो, दुनिया के मेले कम नहीं हुए, आज भी 70 साल के बाद भी वैसी ही जिंदगी का मतलब है. That shows how the life is. So one day you will be just a memory for some people. Do your best to be a good one. And this is my last slide. जिंदगी के रंग मंच पर अपना किरदार इतनी शुद्धत से निभाएं कि पर्दा गिरने के बाद भी तालियां बजती रहें. जिंदगी नहीं मिलेगी दोबारा. Please remember that. Make best use of life every day, every minute. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure meeting you and talking to you. And your feedback is welcome. This is my email ID. This is my cell number. We can always remain in touch. And all the best for the success of this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I think everyone is just spellbound. It's such a motivational lecture as always. And I think you rightly touched upon both the professional as well as personal aspect of building ourselves and really how we have to live the life you have
Vimal, one
guided
thing I
us.
would say that songs always motivated me. Somehow, I don't know why. When I was even studying, I used to keep, that song on. Sometimes they provide you a lot of motivation somehow. That's why I introduced it in my talk. Anyway, go ahead, please.
No, definitely this music and there are different forms of that how we can energize ourselves and different emotions also. So I think we can take some questions, sir, if we have
Yes,
I
yes.
think some time. Yeah. So and before that, I'll say that rather all of us have really invested this particular time very well. And that I am going to assure in the coming entire week also that the time with this program is going to be invested well and something that we can all learn from such enlightened personalities that we have as resource persons. One question, sir, one of our colleague who has joined in this has written that I think his or her idea is about comparison of the emphasis on skill with the research. So you say that knowledge enables a person to think and apply knowledge for generating solutions. So skill development focuses on making people getting better jobs. But then how can we expect to grow as a country with good researchers when we are stressing so much on skill development rather than enriching knowledge? So what's your take on that, sir?
See, what I think you need to be clear about the definition of skill. Some are certain soft skills or the 21st century skills which I talked. But then there are some research skills also. Domain specific skills are also. For excellence in research, you need good knowledge, no doubt. And I'm sure later on I would be taking one full talk on skill development where I will talk about all these things. So some of the prerequisites for doing good research are your good knowledge, your creativity, your intellectual curiosity. These become the driving forces. As a matter of fact, it is said these days that self-education is nothing else but lifelong curiosity. So, in order to excel in research, besides this, you need also certain research skills. ICT skills are very important. For example, you need information literacy skill. You need media literacy skill. You need technology literacy skill. So, your original knowledge, creativity, and all these skills taken together help you in excellence in research. Why we are not able to excel in research? Because, if I look at my career, one of the major problems in our teaching learning, but we were never encouraged to think on the subject much. More emphasis was always on scoring very high marks. And when I worked abroad with a Nobel laureate, where I saw how they think, they take one problem and they invite people from all the related disciplines. They sit together, think over it, come out. Everybody gives their own perspective on that problem. And then the best comes out. And then they, with that background, they start the research process. So research, everything needs skill. Don't think that skill is not required. Skills will be required everywhere. For example, in teaching also, you may be very good in the subject, but if you lack teaching skills, many a times, you come across many professors who are very good in the subject, but they cannot control themselves and present their ideas in a very systematic and logical manner. So that communication skills are missing, presentation skills are missing, logical thinking is missing. All those skills are also required. I think we will talk about it later.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Sir, one question is, sir, you told India is at number 2 in number of students in higher education. So which country is number 1?
No, number one is, of course, actually these three countries were considered to be the number 1, 2, 3, China, USA, and India. But China and India are currently, in higher education, I'm talking. Education system wise, we are third. But in higher education wise, we are number 2.
Just a very quick one more question, sir. The teachers are expected to do multitasking in current scenario. How to prioritize between research, ICT, teaching, MOOC, and a lot more is demanded from us.
I think you have to take a decision what is most important for you in this multitasking. You should have a sense of proportion and you should have priorities, that this is my top priority, this is my next priority, then accordingly divide your time. And that multitasking or that sense of proportion may vary from person to person. There can't be a single answer for everybody. It's up to your own needs. That's what I feel.
Thank you so much, sir, for your session and the query handling. And I think we have Professor Ved Prakash sir has joined. Sir, can I request you to please unmute? If my team please make sir co-host. Can you unmute yourself, sir? And
yeah, very good evening to all of you.
yeah, good morning, sir. Sir is joining from other part of the globe, just opposite. So welcome, sir, in this program. And let me just take the things further. Let me share the screen. So good evening once again, each and everyone, and welcome to the next NEP orientation and sensitization program being conducted by UGC Malviya Mission Teacher Training Center at STTB Khalsa College, University of Delhi, also known as Guru Angad Dev MMTTC, formerly GAD-TLC. In this second session, I have the privilege to welcome Professor Ved Prakash sir, who is mentoring this center, and he is former chairman, University Grants Commission, as I think all of you are aware about his academic credentials and the heights he has reached by working in the topmost 3 positions at UGC for almost, I think, more than 15 years. So very briefly, I will like to introduce to all of you. If we look at his academic and professional qualification, is DLET, PhD, MSc, MEd, US Fulbright Fellow, Michigan University, CCE, PAP, HIID, Harvard University. And he has experience in policy making, teaching, research, and administration of more than 48 years. Professor Ved Prakash sir, a distinguished name in Indian academia, has the unique distinction of spearheading the University Grants Commission, UGC, the apex regulator of higher education in India, as its chairman, vice chairman, and secretary. Under his stewardship, the UGC made significant strides in the areas of curricular reforms, internationalization, basic scientific research, skill education, and gender and social equity in higher education. He has to his credit the transformation of NEPA into a university, where he also served as its founder, vice chancellor. In his stellar career of more than 48 years, he made seminal contribution as advisor education in Planning Commission of India, chairman National Council for Teacher Education, professor and head DEME, which is the examination body there, NCRT, joint director Staff Selection Commission, Government of India, to name a few. Rather, I will say here, I think you have declined more position than you have actually served. So almost like 3 times you have declined, and many you have already served. A US Fulbright scholar, Professor Ved Prakash sir, has been a visiting faculty at University of Windsor, Canada, a guest faculty at HIID, Harvard University, and consultant to the World Bank. He has the distinction of being an interlocutor under prestigious US International Visitor Leadership Program. He has the honor of serving as a member of the jury for a notable UNESCO APID Venue Award for Educational Innovation for 10 long years. He represented India in numerous bilateral and multilateral forums in about 30 foreign countries. And he has published extensively on wide spectrum of areas concerning school education, higher education, educational planning, and administration. He has been conferred many coveted awards and honors for his contribution in this field of education. Welcome, sir, on behalf of this UGC-MMTTC and GAD-MMTTC, and also from my management, SCTB Khalsa College, and the former principal, Professor Jaswinder Singh, and the current acting principal, Professor Surinder Kaur. So over to you, sir. We are waiting to listen to your talk, where you'll be giving the overview on NEP and also talk about higher education in society. So welcome, sir, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Vimal. Let me also join you in extending a very warm welcome to all the participants of this faculty development program. Professor Vimal has asked me to give you an overview of the National Education Policy 2020, which is in the public domain for the last 3 years, actually. So what I propose to do in my talk is that I'm going to reflect on a couple of vital aspects of the national policy on higher education. And I have identified that there are about 21 vital aspects which I think we all need to know, and we all need to develop our own view on that, because we are, I mean, the teachers are the true implementers of the national education policy. Policy is made somewhere else. I mean, policy is approved somewhere else, but when it comes to the implementation, it is the teachers who has the responsibility of translating the intents of the policy into reality through their classroom activities, through their laboratories, and through their other responsibilities which they shoulder. The national education policy, according to me, is a wonderful opportunity for all of us to bring about qualitative change in the sector of post-secondary education. Policy has very clearly talked about its vision. It has talked about the structural changes, the assessment, evaluation, massification of higher education. How are we going to increase the gross enrollment ratio from the current level of 27% to 50% within a time given to us? It has also talked about the multiple means of delivery, including the online mode of delivery, the open and distance learning mode of delivery, and of course the conventional mode of delivery. It has talked about the use of technology and online education, internationalization, skilling, integration of ethics and values in higher education. I mean, there is a whole lot of section on teacher education, faculty recruitment, research, financing, curbing of commercialization, etc. But before I get into the policy, let me briefly reflect about what do we mean by policy and how do we make the policy actually. Policy is a statement of intent. So we have expressed our intents through this document, which we have brought out after a gap of 34 long years. It is a deliberate system of principles to move forward. And it is a very essential component for the planned growth of higher education, where we can overcome the arbitrary development and growth, which has contributed a lot of inequities in the system across the states. It will also help us achieve the rational outcomes, and it will finally, ensure consistency in our decision making. Therefore, the policy should not be detrimental to the interest of the society. It should help us in achieving the desired objectives, the goals that we have set for ourselves. And policy should be logical, flexible, and it should provide guidance in future planning. When we make policy, actually, we carry out the need analysis because policy has to be driven by the needs of the society, needs of the nation. We should charter our own path or look up for the best practices around us. But when we are identifying the best practices around us, I think we should be mindful of the fact that education is a very contextual endeavor. So we need to identify practices that seem to be workable in our own context, which may not always be the best. We should follow practices which are inclusive in nature. Sometimes when we make policies, actually, what we do is that we come out with a handful of questions and answers which can easily be manipulated. Sometimes we raise select questions and come out with answers that suits the dispensation, actually. People in power may raise questions which suit to the current dispensation. Sometimes we use a typical administrative approach where we keep all possible questions and provide fascinating answers, knowing well that neither the political will nor the economy will support them. The another way could be that we raise all possible questions and find answers based on empirical evidences, which are in sync with the harsh realities and extend honest support to make them happen. So, I mean, if you undertake a dispassionate analysis of various kinds of policies which are available in different sectors, you will find different approaches in the formulation of the policies. So if all depends upon how well we have designed the national education policy in our own context, how well we understand it, how well we orient the policy implementers, and how well we take the states on board, and how well we finance our efforts. I mean, we may set targets, but we should also mobilize resources for the purposes of realizing those targets within the prescribed time limits. We have brought out this policy in July 2020. Actually, it was necessitated because education has undergone enormous amount of transformation due to national and international developments. And until then, we were guided only by the policy which we had brought out in 1986. So much will depend actually upon 5 things. 1, how well we understand the intents of the national education policy. This is very important for all of us. Second, how well we are going to orient the policy implementers. That is the second aspect. The third one is how well we take the states on board, because education happens to be onto the concurrent list, and concurrency means meaningful partnership. And how well we finance our efforts. And the last one is, where do we make the beginning from? We stand, my dear colleagues, that we stand, I would like to share with you in brief the size of the system. We stand on a gigantic system of education with about 17.5 lakhs schools in our country, 1,113 degree awarding institutions, and over 43,000 colleges. We have about 1 crore teachers engaged in the sector of school education and over 15 lakh teachers in the sector of higher education. there are about 26 crore children enrolled in school education, and currently 4.1 crore children enrolled in higher education. If you look at the latest survey of higher education brought out by the Ministry of Education. But still, a substantial number of children remain outside the system. Now, with universalization of school education, that is what we have talked about in the policy, the biggest challenge before us is to make quality education accessible to about 37 crore children in the age group of 3 to 18, and with the aim of achieving 50% gross enrollment ratio in higher education, we shall have to make quality education accessible at an affordable cost to about 8 crore children in the age cohort of 18 to 23. Educating 37 plus 8, 44 crore children is a tall order, and it would require lots of preparation at different levels. In a diverse country like ours, we shall have to look up for practices which are inclusive in nature. So let us know that from now on, national education policy is a very important document for us. We need to understand it, we need to respect it, and we need to make concerted efforts to translate the intents of the policy into reality. If you look at the document, you will find that some recommendations can be implemented concomitantly. Others will follow a particular sequence. And thus, two action points that emerge are, number one, that we must read every word of it very carefully and try to understand the implications of every statement of the intent that the policy contains. National education policy says that the purpose of education is to develop good human beings capable of rational thoughts and action, possessing compassion and empathy. It talks about promoting flexibility, equity. Now, transforming India substantially into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing access to high-quality education to all. For that, we have brought out certain structural changes. Let us know what are those structural changes. One of the structural changes is moving universities and colleges towards multidisciplinary universities and colleges. All higher educational institutions will plan to become multi-faculty by 2030. So we have set up this goal. All higher education institutions shall aim to become multi-faculty by 2040. Now, what are the implications of this structural change? We'll have to prepare a list of all single faculty institutions. We have a large number of single faculty institutions in our country, actually. We will have to ascertain the viability of upgrading all single faculty institutions into multidisciplinary institutions. Each institution should start working on institutional development plan. And if somebody asks, I'm slightly digressing at this stage, if someone asks me to name the two most vital intents of this policy, one is the preparation of the institutional development plan, and another is the development of national higher education qualification framework. So, each institution should start working on the IDP, Institution Development Plan. This would obviously require greater amount of political commitment and substantial increase in earmarked resources. If we are to transform all the single faculty institutions into multidisciplinary institutions, of course, this would require political commitment, because we'll have to shut down some of the institutions which are not in a position to transform themselves into a multi-faculty institutions, or alternately, we will require enormous amount of the resources for the transformation of those institutions. The another structural change is proposed in the form of types of institutions. We have stated in our policy that we will have only 3 types of institutions. One would be research intensive universities, another would be teaching intensive universities, and third category would be autonomous colleges with degree granting powers, primarily focusing on undergraduate programs, but over a period of time, they can evolve themselves as a university. A university will mean a multidisciplinary institution of higher learning that offers undergraduate and postgraduate programs with high quality teaching, research, and community engagement. We should lay down our own criteria for a research university. If you look at the profile of the existing 1,113 universities, you will find that very few of them are research-intensive universities. We should also lay down our own criteria for teaching university and for an autonomous college. A research university, we all know, will have to be truly international institution of higher education. It cannot be a national institution of higher education, while a teaching university could be both. So we lay down criteria for ensuring parity of degrees awarded by autonomous colleges to mitigate the adverse impact of employability. If we are going to transform all 43,000 odd colleges into degree awarding institutions, we will be creating a chaos in the society unless we ensure the parity of degrees, parity of academic standards for the colleges. As it is, there is a disparity actually even within the same university. You name any university and you see the profile of the individual colleges, you will find enormous amount of difference in terms of academic attainments, academic achievements. We have talked about in the policy that we will be moving towards a more liberal, multidisciplinary undergraduate education, which will be of either 3 or 4 year duration with multiple exit options within this period. We can issue certificate after completing a 1 year program, a diploma after 2 years, bachelor degree after 3 years, and 4 year, multidisciplinary bachelor degree with research after 4 years, which will be the preferred option. Now, higher education institutions will have freedom to offer different designs of master's degree program. We may have to continue with 2 year program for those who would obtain 3 year bachelor's degree. We'll have to design 1 year program, 1 year master's program for those who will complete, 4 year bachelor's degree with research. We will have to design 5 year integrated bachelor or bleak master's program. And we'll have to create conditions for the entry to the PhD through master's or 4 year bachelor's degree with research. These are different permutations and combinations which we will have to consider. Now, if you look at the implications of this structural change, introduction of a 4 year liberal education will provide students with broad knowledge of the wider world, excuse me, along with an in-depth study in a specific subject area. This was also recommended by Kothari Commission way back in 1966. Now, this would require greater academic preparations with open consultation with the academia. For increase in duration of 4 years for the first degree, each institution must develop a detailed plan on 4 parameters. Excuse me. 1, a requirement of provision of infrastructure. You will need additional infrastructure for that. You will also need additional human resources. You will need financial requirements, and you would also require curriculum updation along with quality of its transaction. Curriculum developers will have to ensure that it's updating in such a manner that it guarantees the culmination of competencies and skills of those who would be seeking an exit with a certificate after 1 year or a diploma after 2 years. And at the same time, it ensures acquisition of prerequisites for those who would like to continue their studies for a full-fledged 3-year degree program or a full-fledged 4-year research degree program. This is going to be an academic challenge for the curriculum developers. Since it is going to be hard for the private institutions which solely depend on internal recoveries, as they will have to have full contingent of faculty and necessary infrastructure depending upon the initial intake in the first year, the government will have to incentivize the private service providers. Otherwise, they will find it very difficult, because if children continue to leave after 1 year or 2nd year or 3rd year, they will have very few students, suppose in the 4th year. So the tuition, the internal recoveries is going to be substantially low. So the private service providers might find it extremely difficult, unless all the students who are admitted there decide to continue the full-fledged degree with a research program. If that does not happen, then I think the government may have to come up with some kind of plan to provide financial assistance to the private institutions. Both the union and the state governments will have to assure full support, as this shift will have substantial financial implications. Preparing research-ready graduates through a 4-year program as of now may be true only in a handful of institutions. And direct entry of a 4-year product to PhD would require a revamping of curriculum in a manner where curricular provisions and its transaction provide for meaningful participation of every student in research at the undergraduate level. So we'll have to create that kind of a situation which does not exist as of now. It does exist in some of the institutions. For instance, in Indian Institute of Science, we are very successfully running a 4-year undergraduate program for quite some time. Role of master's degree may be obviated only by enriching the PhD program with mandatory comprehensive coursework and rigorous assessment. Each higher education institution, as I had already said, will have to develop Institutional Development Plan, IDP. An academic bank of credit will be established, which would digitally store credits earned from various higher educational institutions. That is also one of the intents of the policy. For institutional development plan, as it would require hand-holding, it should include all dimensions of curricular provisions, including contents, pedagogical processes, delivery mechanisms, modes of assessment, certification, etc. And here I would like to share with you that the University Grants Commission has come up with the guidelines for the preparation of the institution development plan. I would advise you to go through those guidelines, which will help you develop your own institution development plan. Establishing of academic bank of credits would require memorandum of understanding across the institutions to overcome apprehensions and reservations by Tier 1 and Tier 2 institutions. They may not like to accept the credits earned by some of the institutions, and therefore that is going to be one of the implications of this. Insofar as assessment and evaluation is concerned, The policy has mentioned that the choice-based credit system will be revised for instilling innovation and flexibility, and that higher education institutions shall move to a criterion-based grading system. Assessment of students' achievement will be based on learning outcomes, and assessment system will be made fairer and more comparable. Higher education institutions shall move away from high-stakes examinations towards more continuous and comprehensive evaluation, wherein they will have to make sure that the formative assessment and summative assessment take place at the same time. National Testing Agency will conduct all high-stakes examinations for higher educational institutions. That is what is proposed in the policy. Now look at the implications of this recommendation or this intent. Subject experts committee should be prepared to update the choice-based credit system framework, which we already have with us. Teachers should also be oriented towards developing criterion-based tests. Some of the teachers may not be ready to develop criterion-based tests, and therefore some kind of orientation programs ought to be organized for the teachers. Insofar as National Testing Agency is concerned, they should standardize their tests on the pattern of the Educational Testing Services and the American College Testing Program, ACT program and ATS programs, because the items which are being used by the National Testing Agency as of now, we do not know how those items are going to behave on the floor of the examinations. And therefore, it is extremely essential for any national level organization which is entrusted with the responsibility of conducting high stakes examinations like the entrance test, etc., that they should know in advance the facility value, the difficulty value, the discrimination indexes of the key options, and all the distractors beforehand, before they assemble the items in the form of the test. I will move on to the massification of higher education side now. There is an alarming fall in returns to education. If you look at the enrollment situation in our country, right from school education to the post-secondary sector, we find that enrollment continues to take a dip at each level, from nearly 100% students at the primary level. It plummets to 72% at upper primary, 52% at secondary, 43% at higher secondary, and it remains 27% at the post-secondary, which is the higher education sector. Now, there is a persistent concern to increasing access to higher education since independence. Because if you see in 60s, the gross enrollment ratio in higher education was only 1.5%. We touched the double-digit mark of 11% only in 2005 and 2006. And the gross enrollment ratio, if the gross enrollment ratio is to be increased to 50% over the next 10 years, now achieving the goal of 50% gross enrollment ratio is a good destination to cover. And it may not be difficult to achieve through multiple modes of delivery. Providing access without ensuring equity and quality will not be in the direction of creating sustainable human resource. Equity and quality will have to go hand in hand, else it would widen the already existing inequalities in the society. It has implications beyond the confines of higher education institutions, actually, which would mean a strengthening of the feeder cadre, that is the school, and recruitment of potential students through well-designed admission system. A large number of middle-class population is already financially stressed, and cannot seek services beyond government institutions. If they go to private institutions, they find that they are very expensive. So significant spike in gross enrollment ratio would warrant increase in number of scholarships, both in public and private institutions. Currently, the University Grants Commission awards about 80,000 scholarship, and I think that must be tripled if we have to achieve this goal of ensuring gross enrollment ratio 50%. Policy has talked in greater detail about the ODL system, open and distance learning system in higher education. It has underlined the significance of the ODL by stating that all types of institutions could offer the ODL programs, provided they are specifically accredited to do so. There is a caveat there. Every single institution cannot offer the ODL program. Only those institutions would be allowed to offer the ODL programs which are specifically accredited by the accrediting agency to offer the ODL programs. The blended approach is the real solution, but too much of dependence on the open and distance learning to increase the gross enrollment ratio should not lead to further dilution of standards. We have to be very careful about that. And therefore, the regulators must address this issue of perceived notion of its disputed equivalence between ODL and formal face-to-face system. Regulating and accrediting agencies should redesign their tools and apply rigorous measures to ensure the quality of both the materials and the products. They must take abundant precautions in designing and developing SLMs and correspondingly the assessment procedures. Policy has also talked about the use of technology and online education. Policy has mentioned that we will be establishing the National Educational Technology Forum, NETF, which will be created for free exchange of ideas on the use of technology to enhance learning, planning, and administration. NEFT will articulate new direction for research and innovation. E-content developed by various organizations will be uploaded onto Diksha or Sham platform, and we will be using blended mode of teaching and learning. Online and digital education will ensure equitable use of technology. There would be virtual labs, there would be online assessment and examination, and this would require a lot of human and material resources. Establishment of NETF may be accorded topmost priority by the government. That is the first implication. We should now focus on creating and strengthening framework for remote teaching and learning. We have already got some kind of training during the COVID time, and some of the teachers have mastered the competencies and skills insofar as remote teaching and learning is concerned. But we have to plan to enable disadvantaged children to access remote teaching and learning if we are going to count on this mode of delivery. We need to organize massive faculty development programs with a special focus on how to develop quality e-courseware and effectively use digital learning platform. How can we harness technology for development of cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains? I think we need to organize orientation programs for that. Technology will now remain an integral part of future teaching and learning. We cannot deny it. But the challenge is to use technology for making learning more interesting, inspiring, competitive, global, besides relating it to social and physical realities. Policy has also talked about the internationalization of higher education. It is mentioned that all higher educational institutions will have to set up international student office, collaborate and exchange program with foreign educational institutions, and that high-performing Indian universities can set up campuses abroad. There should be a legislative framework for foreign educational institutions to set up campuses in India. But if we look at the past experience, it has been quite discouraging. We have not been able to attract any foreign educational institution, nor we have been able to go overseas and set up the campuses insofar as public institutions are concerned. I'm not talking about some of the private institutions which have set up the offshore campuses. Now, if you look at the implications of this recommendation, special arrangements for foreign students in some select universities will have to be made. We need to create common hostel facilities of their liking, liking of the international students, easing provisions for collaboration and exchange programs with foreign educational institutions. And we'll have to come up quickly with a legislative framework for the top foreign educational institution to set up campuses in India. Policy has also talked about the skilling part, skilling, upskilling, and reskilling actually. The policy has rightly recommended that at least 50% of the students through both school education and higher education should go in for vocational programs by 2025. And that vocational education should be integrated into all educational institutions in a phased manner over the next decade. Vocational education will be integrated in all secondary schools in a phased manner over the next decade. That is also one of the recommendations. We are a country of over 140 crore people with median age of 27 years or 28 years. It means that we have over 70 crore people below the age of 28 years. We have been talking of skilling 50 crore youth for quite some time, but in vain. Skill development has not been a success story despite even earlier recommendations made by the Mudaliar Commission way back in 1953. Having realized the distressing situation of vocationalization of school education, a Kothari Commission in 66 recommended diversion of at least 25% students to vocational education. Now we have talked about 50%. But despite all that, the educational system did not see its success. Employability of the pass-outs of the vocational stream and perception of parents about vocational education as inferior to academic education, among others, have been some of the reasons for the shortfall in outcomes. One of the reasons for the failure of the vocationalization in earlier times has been the non-availability of vertical openings in higher education. If somebody has opted for vocational education at the school stage, her or his education will come to a grinding halt after +2 because there was no vertical opening available in the sector of higher education. But since 2013, the University Grants Commission has given vocational orientation to higher education by way of instituting vocational degrees and identifying different trades and laying down national occupational standards with the help of sector skill councils. Now, success in BVOC programs at the higher education stage should provide some meaningful direction for the skill development initiatives advocated in the policy. We have National Skill Qualification Framework now at a stage, and it is also encouraging that we have now a separate Ministry of Skill Development. A serious exercise should be undertaken to align the school-level vocational programs with college and university-level vocational programs and creating adequate infrastructure in close coordination with the industry. This is the implication of this recommendation, and we have to work on that. Policy has talked about the integration of values and ethics in higher education. Values have always been central to education, but now they need to move from implicit aspirations to explicit goals. Values and ethics are intertwined, but distinctly different actually. Values can be personal, but ethics cannot be personal. Ethics are professional actually. One cannot compromise at all insofar as professional ethics are concerned. Values need to be promoted through education and not through sermons. So first of all, we must appreciate that values could be integrated across different domains of knowledge. The myth that values can be integrated only through humanities and social sciences and languages is not correct actually. They can be integrated across different domains of knowledge. And therefore, what is needed is that serious exercise must be undertaken by the teachers excuse me, to identify such sports of learning in existing curriculum where values based on both universal perception and constitutional imperatives could be integrated. I think today the time will not permit, otherwise I can also cite examples how values could be integrated in disciplines like chemistry and physics, but we would do it a little later at some other stage. Now I come down to teacher education. In teacher education, the policy has talked about the 4-year integrated program. It also mentions that while 2-year B.Ed will continue to be there for those who have already obtained bachelor's degree in other specialized disciplines, provision of 1-year B.Ed will also be made for those who have completed the equivalent of 4-year multidisciplinary bachelor's degree or who have obtained master's degree in a specialty and wish to become teachers. Now, multidisciplinary institutions will be offering the 4-year program, and special shorter programs for master instructors will be available at the District Institute of Education and Training or at school complexes. If you look at the recommendations made in this section, that all single faculty teacher training institutions must immediately prepare an action plan for their transformation into multi-faculty institution. They should draw lessons from the Justice Verma Commission in report of 2012 actually. While doing so, they should look into the reasons as to why the 4-year innovative model, which was started in 1964, did not move further from the 4 regional institutes of education till now. A long period of 56 years have passed by. Alongside, they should also revisit 2-year and 1-year program. 4-year degree should not mean stapling of 2 degrees, 2 plus 2 actually. And one of the serious implications of this recommendation that we'll have 4-year program, we'll have 2-year program, we will also have 1-year program. I mean, offering 3 kinds of programs on the same campus should not act as a deterrent for the quality of the teacher training program. Actually, this is one of the serious apprehensions, and we have to take care of it. I hope the National Council for Teacher Education will come up with some kind of alternate model to address this complex issue of teacher training. Insofar as research, research seems to have caught up the right attention in the policy. We are spending only 0.68% of the GDP as against 2.89% by USA, and in the range of 3 to 5% by countries like Germany, UK, and Israel, etc. Policy has talked about setting up of the National Research Foundation to fund competitive peer-reviewed grant proposal, which is a very welcome move. The National Research Foundation should coordinate with other agencies, and the National Research Foundation should be driven only by the consideration of merit in terms of its composition and operation. The other implication should be that the NRF should also identify priority areas in different domains of knowledge and invite proposals so that institutions can undertake meaningful research activities and engage themselves in addressing the national issues, regional issues, and the local issues, along with the global issues actually. NRF to evolve a mechanism to ensure that research proposals are worthy of public funding. At a state level, we must also think of setting up the state research foundations to identify priority areas and develop proposals worthy of research. Interestingly, I mean, you find that the policy has also talked about establishing a model educational research university. But the contours of the model educational research universities are not clear. Why can't we initiate action to ensure that all universities conform to the visualized model of the MERU, Model Educational Research Universities? Insofar as the regulatory mechanism and effective governance is concerned, there is a very good recommendation, in the policy. Regulation, provision of education, funding, accreditation, and academic standard settings will be performed by distinct, independent, and empowered bodies. There will be a common regulatory regime for the entire higher education, and the system will treat both public and private institutions at par. It is indeed a very welcome move, because we were not able to address some of the issues insofar as the regulatory mechanism was concerned. So which is why the policy has come up with this very great recommendation. Higher educational the policy has talked about the setting up of Higher Education Commission of India, which will be an umbrella institution with its 4 verticals. One would be in the form of National Higher Education Regulatory Council. Another would be National Accreditation Council, which will be a meta-accrediting agency. The third would be Higher Education Grants Council, which will look after the financing part. And the fourth vertical would be the General Education Council, which would be responsible for setting up the standards. So the efforts must be made now. I think we must set up the Higher Education Commission of India as early as possible, and we'll have to make concerted efforts to harmonize amongst the activities undertaken by different bodies. Policy has also talked about the effective governance. It has recommended that each institution will have a board of governors, and that the board of governors will be an empowered body to govern the institution. Even the selection of the head of the institution will be made by the board of governors, and selection of the new members of the board of governors would also be made by the board of governors itself. The only precaution that we'll have to take whilst constituting the board of governors, that it should not lead to politicization of the campuses. Higher Education Commission of India and its 4 verticals must be put in place as speedily as possible, because uncertainty slows down everything. This is what we had experienced in 2000, from 2010 to 2014, when we were talking about setting up of the National Higher Education Research Commission, but it could not be materialized. A minimum qualifications and tenure should be laid down for the members of the Board of Governors. There should be a certain criteria, I mean, for the members who should be appointed on the Board of Governors. That is extremely important for the greater good of the individual institutions. Now I come down to the financing part. The quality education at an affordable cost. I mean, if you are making the quality education at an affordable cost, this is indeed a big challenge. Policy has talked about accessibility of quality to all. Now, 20% of all public expenditure will be committed over a 10-year period. Center and states together to spend 6% of the GDP on education as early as possible. This is one of the statements made in the policy. Now, 20% of all public expenditure over a 10-year period, a different mode of showing incremental increase may not be sufficient. Kothari Commission long time ago had recommended 6% of the GDP to be spent on education when the size of both eligible population and education was much smaller if you compare it with the today's size and shape of the school education and higher education. It has been argued for over 57 years that public investment on education should be 6% of the GDP. But we are nowhere near that. Now, experience tells us that translation of the policy statements into reality has remained a distant dream. If you analyze the earlier policies, and if you try to find out what policy statements we have been able to translate into reality, you will find that very few of them could be translated into reality because of the paucity of resources. Now, with about 62 crore children below the age group of 23, India should be spending much more than 6%. Much will depend how do we finance our efforts. Share of education, though on the concurrent list, is mostly with the states. Excuse me. States are bearing the burden of about 85% of education. Only 15% of education is with the central government. States cannot invest as much as they are expected because of their weak resources. And if center does not incentivize states, it will continue to remain a distant dream. It would require reconfiguration of existing budgetary priorities. Government should set up a task force to ascertain the quantum of resources, actual resources required. It requires a fresh and realistic analysis of resources. New norms should be worked out, which should provide some leverages to private service providers as well. Appropriate measures will, however, must be taken to ensure non-commercialization. When we come to the recruitment of the faculty, the policy has said that a robust and merit-based tenure track promotion and salary structure with multiple salary levels will be put in place to ensure excellence. Now, tenure track system will be good for teachers' accountability and maintenance of professional growth. Much will depend on how the elements of this proposal would be worked out. But it should be worked out by an expert committee in consultation with the academia. Teachers' performance should be based on the duties and responsibilities and not through a straight-jacketed uniform criteria across institutions. I mean, teaching is as important as research, and if an institution does not have the research facility, But if the teachers are doing the great job of teaching and learning, they should not be put to any disadvantage simply because that they have not been able to come up with the volume of research work which is expected from a research intensive university. I will now policy has, I will also briefly touch upon the private institutions. Policy has also underscored the value of public spirited private institutions with commitment to high quality education. It has mentioned that we will promote the private enterprise in higher education. Earlier, if you see the earlier high quality higher education that had come through private initiatives, be it Banaras Hindu University or Vishwa Bharati or Aligarh Muslim University or Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. I mean, all these institutions were established through private initiatives. Private institutions, the cost of, since the cost of higher education is increasing, that should be kept in mind. And we need to come up with a facilitative regulatory mechanism for private institutions. Policy has also talked about the curbing of commercialization, that we need to have a transparent mechanism for fixing fees, and there should be duly disclosed. Regulator should prepare a disclosure form in consultation with experts and make it an annual mandatory feature for all higher educational institutions. Fee committee should be formed both at central and state level to determine the tuition fee, keeping in view the ground realities. Now the question is, where do we start from actually? We need to develop an action plan through mutual understanding between the executives and the academics, since both are going to be instrumental in the implementation of the recommendation of the National Education Policy. And I'm of the opinion that while some of the reform measures may be undertaken concomitantly, others, especially regulatory reforms, would require a particular sequence, since they are so interconnected that one is going to be the key enabler to other reform. And therefore, recommendations which have the potential to give directions and bring about desired transformation should be identified first, and subsequently of them, the one which is going to be the key enabler to other reforms should become the starting point. Like if we are to set up the General Education Council, or we are to set up the National Accreditation Council, or we are to set up the Higher Education Regulatory Council, the key enabler happens to be the Higher Education Commission of India. And that should be accorded the topmost priority. Policy has envisaged multiple transformations ranging from regulatory reforms to structural reforms. This is, I mean, very important for us to make a beginning. But we should be clear about one thing, that there are certain recommendations which can be undertaken straight away by individual institution. They need not look up for receiving commands from any quarters. For instance, we have to develop the IDP, Institution Development Plan, and therefore we must straight away start developing a plan for our own institution, and it should provide for short-term measures, medium-term measures, and long-term measures. And as I had said earlier, that the University Grants Commission has already brought out the guidelines for the preparation of the IDP, and therefore we should not, without any delay, we must start developing our own perspective plan. There are some recommendations which require a revisiting of the existing apprentices. For instance, we have talked about revisiting choice-based credit system. and therefore that can also be undertaken straight away. Some of the recommendations which are to be taken care of at the national level or at the state level, they can be done by the respective ministries of different states and also at the national level. Many nation states with much lesser human and material resources have been reaping the benefits of the kind of recommendations that we have made in our policy, like the development of the National Higher Education Qualification Framework, because it provides them an advantage over others when it comes to ensuring comparability of learning outcomes in the form of competencies and skills, and their graduates for the purposes of employability and mobility within and across the borders. And it is for this reason that some of the hiring agencies within the country do not have necessary confidence in degrees and diplomas awarded by various institutions, primarily because of wide variation across universities. It makes matters worse when industry leaders are seen openly lamenting about the suitability of the graduates in the modern world of work. Therefore, what we need to do is that we need to identify the tasks for the different agencies. For instance, identification of single faculty institutions should be undertaken by the state. Ascertaining the viability of upgrading single faculty institution into multi-faculty by state expert committees. As I have already said, IDP should be developed by individual institution. Now, classification of universities into research universities, teaching universities, and identification of the autonomous colleges, that should also be done by the expert committees. Setting up of academic bank of credit should be done at the national level, I mean the guidelines. Revision of the choice-based credit system can be undertaken by individual institution. Criterion-based grading system should be undertaken by the General Education Council, or it should be done through the National Higher Education Qualification Framework. Increase in enrollment through the blended mode of teaching and learning, or the establishment of the NEP should be done by the Ministry of Education. Internationalization, entry of the foreign educational institution or Indian institutions going abroad should be done at the level of the Ministry of Education. Skilling, of course, at the level of the sector skill councils and the ministry level and the individual institution level. Integration of values and ethics can be done by the individual institutions. So teacher education through NCT, NCRT and Ministry of Education. Merit-based tenure track system, I mean through the General Education Council in consultation with the individual institutions. Like that, what we need to do is that we need to identify the tasks and assign the responsibility to the individual institution for the purposes of doing that. I am of the opinion that we can be at our best if we work openly, collegially, and collectively. And there is an urgent need for curricular and pedagogical reforms at all stages of education. There has to be a curricular shift from routine development of cognitive skills to higher order, critical thinking, problem solving, and entrepreneurial abilities. And unfortunately, what is happening is that they are not the explicit part, though we talk about these generic abilities, but they are not the explicit, they are not explicitly mentioned in our existing curricular provisions. We presume that they will automatically be developed. I am of the opinion that we should also deliberate upon the contents that which should go into the development of these generic abilities. What is that is required for critical thinking? What kind of changes ought to be made in teaching and learning so that we can develop and promote critical thinking amongst the children? What kind of tasks should be provided to them in the form of home assignments or project work or individual assignments so that they can develop the problem solving abilities? I think we need to organize the orientation programs for the development of the generic abilities. That is extremely essential and that is very, very critical. It is to be in order to avoid duplication of efforts, there is a need to collaborate and institutionalize best practices for designing curriculum, e-courseware, pedagogical processes, assessment techniques, and digital platform. That is what I would recommend. And while universities need to launch a massive operation to develop online educational resources, governments need to scale up broadband connectivity and support disadvantaged groups, and tech companies need to help institutions to create digital platform. So in a way, what we need to do is that we must set up a task force at each and every individual level institution, and we should undertake a critical analysis of each sector. It is in the interest of the individual institution if we undertake this analysis, which I would divide into 5 parts. One is we should see where do we stand vis-a-vis other institutions within the states or across the states. And the second is we should undertake a critical analysis so as to know what is that has worked in the past and what is that has not worked in the past, so that we do not continue to commit the mistakes which we have been committing over the years. And the third is, where do we want to reach in 5 years from hence, 10 years from hence, and 15 years from hence? It would require development of a perspective plan, which we are naming IDP, Institution Development Plan. And the next task should be that what should be the guiding principles when we move forward to realize the goals that we set for ourselves, for our individual institution. For this, we must make a task force in each and every institution, and we should come up. This exercise should be taken up when we are developing the IDP, that where do we stand, what is that has worked in the past and what is that has not worked in the past, and where do we want to reach, and what should be the guiding principles. If we do that, I think we will be doing a great service to our own institution. Policy has, I will close by making this observation that through this national education policy, we have reiterated a number of important recommendations which should have been implemented by now, but we have not been able to implement them. I think we must not make this mistake again. Endorsement and reiteration should not become a trend with the policy formulation. And I hope that the kind of steps which are undertaken at the level of the Ministry of Education, at the and the steps which are undertaken by the regulators, by the University Grants Commission, by All India Council for Technical Education, we will not be able to reiterate these recommendations once again after a gap of 15 or 20 years. If all of us work in tandem, we can transform all these recommendations into reality. And this is a wonderful opportunity given to us by the National Education Policy 2020 to bring about qualitative changes in teaching and learning. This is also a very wonderful opportunity for us to increase the gross enrollment ratio in higher education. And this is also a wonderful opportunity for us to use multiple modes of delivery and multiple modes of assessment of students' potential. I hope that if we implement these recommendations and if we mobilize the resources required for the implementation of these recommendations, we will be doing a great service to the nation. I hope that all of you, through this program, are going to learn a great deal insofar as the policy recommendations are concerned and the strategies for the implementation of those recommendations are concerned. I will stop at this stage and I will invite questions if there are any actually. So over to Professor Vimal.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
I
you.
think you have given us an overview of the entire policy document and what structural changes need to be done at national level, state level, institutional level, and most importantly, I think as teachers, we have to be looking into the teaching methodologies, the different modes that we can use for deliver, not need only the online things, but then how it can be integrated in our own teaching learning in the blended mode, and also how the technology can be used, how different assessment methods can be used. And I think this is a great deal that we have to also look at how the proper curriculum framing has to be done. Sir, I have personally seen many institutions have gone ahead and this claim that they have started implementing NEP. But then if you look from learner's point of view, what they have done is earlier they were like 2 papers of 3 credits each. Now they have combined everything into a 2 credit paper. So without looking at how this will be really implemented in terms of what activities can be taken, because teaching learning, it is not just sharing the information. It has to be a lot more. And how do you integrate the generic learning outcomes you mentioned? So I think we'll be taking ahead from this lecture, and let's see how we have to be preparing ourselves, because that is very important, that unless or until every teacher understands the implications and the nuances and how positively we have to take it further, we cannot make a qualitative change. So with these words, thank you so very much, sir. And any questions, if you have, you can please chat, or maybe some of you can unmute yourself. We'll just take another 5 minutes. Sir has so kindly agreed to be part of this program, in spite he started at 5 a.m. in the morning. So thank you so very much, sir. Any question? Anyone will like to unmute? Shrutika, you can unmute all. Anyone?
Sir, good evening. Sir, good evening. I'm Susan. I just wanted to ask a very small question. Sir, for the assistant professorship, is entrance exam for the elimination of and to reduce the number of applicants necessary in higher education? And what should be the criteria along with the present way of calculating API? Should this entrance exam marks to be added? If so, what, how much percentage we should consider this marks? What should be the percent? Suppose if it's 100%, the contribution of this entrance exam, what would be the percentage?
See, this is a very difficult question. Actually, this is not a small question. What has happened is that the academic institutions lately have started following the criteria laid down by the Department of Personnel and Training, DOPT. And that criteria is that whosoever is eligible should be called, should be given the opportunity to appear, before the selection committee. And the institutions, I'm given to understand that the universities and colleges are finding it extremely difficult, that they are interviewing, for one position, they are interviewing 150 candidates over a period of 5 days. And on the 5th day, The experts do not remember the candidates who had appeared on the previous day or on the first day.
Yes.
So this has caused a lot of problem. So the earlier, I think when you are going to constitute the board of governors, my advice would be that the board of governors, depending upon the situation, the geographical location of your institution, you have to be very, very pragmatic actually. And accordingly, you should take your own view, and academic institutions should be provided the autonomy. I mean, we say that we are autonomous institutions, but our hands are tied up actually. We are not granted that kind of autonomy. So this should be left exclusively to the individual institution. They should take this call on their own, depending upon the situation. What are the social conditions, what are the physical conditions, what are their requirements, and accordingly they should decide. So this should be left to the individual institution. That is the best, that would be the best technique. We should not be forced, I mean, to follow the criteria which is applicable in a different sector, but not in our sector.
Okay. Thank you,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you.
You should remind.
Yes.
Sir, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Sir, this is Vikas Saxena. I'm from Government College Ajmer, and your
My place.
speech was very informative. I just need to ask a question. You
Yes.
said values cannot be personal. Okay. You said value when you were talking about values and ethics. You said values cannot be personal, and you
Values are
said
no,
that
Saxena sir, I
Yeah.
said values are personal.
Okay, values are personal. Okay,
Ethics
fine.
cannot
So
be personal.
ethics cannot
be personal.
Okay, so when values are personal, how can we integrate them into a subject like life sciences? Because you said you'll be telling how to integrate them
Yeah,
in chemistry.
All right.
So
All right.
yeah,
I'll tell you. See, now I would need 4-5 minutes for that.
Yeah.
Until 1781, we did not know the composition of the atmospheric air.
Yeah.
There was a scientist by the name Henry Cavendish.
Okay.
He decided to know the composition of the atmospheric air. Okay. He carried out the experiment, and he found out that there was a small little bubble in the corner of the jar. The entire jar was filled with water, but there remained a small little bubble in the corner of the jar. Henry Cavendish could not resolve the mystery. He repeated that experiment several times, but every time he would find that a small little bubble of 0.5 cc in the corner of the jar.
Okay.
When he wrote his research paper, which you can access if you are a chemistry person from my place, I studied in Ajmer. I studied in Ajmer.
Oh, that's great, sir.
It's okay. It's okay. Let me remain to the point. So when he wrote the research paper, he devoted one small paragraph on this mystery. And what he wrote? He wrote that I have not been able to resolve the mystery of this small little bubble.
Okay.
This is beyond my comprehension. But I hope that the posterity will resolve this mystery. And believe you me, that after a gap of 100 years in the same lab, which is now known as the Lord Henry Cavendish Lab in Cambridge University, Ramsay and his team, they resolved that mystery. They found out that it was an inert gas. And you provided the zero, put all the inert gases in the zero group in the periodic table. See, if you, as a chemistry teacher, if you cite this example, this small example to the students, how many values can we inculcate and promote? amongst our students. The admission to his failure. Such a great scientist, and he's so candidly confessing that this is beyond my comprehension. Humility of that man. So, like that, what we need to do is, my point, the point that I had made was, Ms. Saxena, is that we must identify some such sports of learning where we can integrate values, and values based on universal perception like honesty, integrity, perseverance, truth. These kinds of things, these are universal values, but also values based on constitutional imperatives. If you look at your own constitution, where we say that we should strive to achieve excellence individually and collectively, protection of environment, including lakes, rivers, ponds, and wildlife, promotion of composite culture of the country. I mean, these are the values which are based on constitutional imperatives. So what we need to do is, when we revisit our existing curriculum, we must identify some such sports of teaching and learning wherein we can integrate both kinds of values. Values emanate only from two sources. One is the universal perception, and the another one is the constitutional imperatives. Because you have a commitment to your nation state. So values can be integrated. This is a myth that they cannot be integrated. What could be a bigger value than the truth?
Yes.
And what is the exact science meant for? You are always in search of truth.
Yeah.
And it is the science which tells you the truth.
Yes.
Isn't it? So they can be integrated. And ethics cannot be personal, actually. When you enter into the class as a teacher, you have a duty towards each and every child in your class. You cannot discriminate them on the basis of gender, on the social groups, actually, or on the basis of their scholarly background, actually. So you cannot compromise on ethics.
Yes.
Whereas values are personal.
Yeah. I'm from zoology, sir, and I'll find out examples from my subject related to values. I'm not from there. And thanks a lot.
Thank you, Vikas, for raising that question. And I will just add that, as I think in every class we have to be looking into how the students are behaving, irrespective whether you're from zoology or I am from chemistry. When the students are reporting and putting their observations, why they have to manipulate to reach to the final result? Can we not put them that you have to be honest, and then maybe there is a reason that the solution is not made proper? Let them analyze that why you have not reached to the final result, which we say, okay, it should be this. So small things, but somehow I think these are declining, and we can see this accumulating and then seen in our society. In Corona time, if you recall, we have seen both the good part and the ugly part of our society. And the so-called educated persons selling the 80 rupees medicine into 80,000, they were nurtured in our classrooms. So the need of values and ethics is highly required. And if you look in the professional space, I think we are going unethical. The recruitments and I think we should not go into that, but then there is so much the change has to be brought, and all of you will bring that change. So with these words, I thank you so much, sir, and we'll be looking forward to your more sessions in this program, which are lined up. Thank you so much, and once again, thanks for taking your time out from such actually schedule.
It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to talk to your colleagues.
So thank you, everyone. And please fill up the feedback link we have posted in the Zoom chat, as well as it is there in the WhatsApp group. So those who are not in the WhatsApp group, please immediately take it from the chat, and I will request my team to be also sending the feedback link in mail, because if there are someone who has not added in the WhatsApp group, they will get it through mail. And tomorrow we will be meeting at 4:30 rather than 5, because from 4:30 to 5, I will tell you how you have to watch all these recorded videos and where the quizzes will be taken. And from 5 p.m. onwards, we will be having proper technical sessions. So,
Professor Vimal,
yes, sir, thank you.
just a last word to
Yes.
all our colleagues here. I would like to earnestly request you, I mean, to study this document very seriously and identify a role for yourself, for your institution, what you can contribute in translating the recommendations of the policy in your institution or at the level of any state resource institution or at the level of any national level resource institution. This is a wonderful opportunity for you to upgrade your credentials, academic credentials, and that will also give you a lot of satisfaction that you have made some contribution in the implementation of the recommendation of the National Policy on Education. Such opportunities come once in a lifetime. Look, I mean, the average span of hours in academia is 30-35 years. We have brought out this policy after a gap of 34 long years. So this is a wonderful opportunity for you to identify your role and make a significant contribution. And whatever little contribution you would make, it would add to your qualifications, whether it is at your institution level or it is at the state level or it is at the national level. So please identify your role and make a significant contribution. That is my advice to all of you. We have the added advantage by being in this profession, जिसमें कहते हैं कि आम के आम और गुठली के दाम. Whatever little we do, if we write a research paper, it adds to our qualifications. Okay, and this is how we can also ensure our relevance in our profession. So with this, I would like to wish you all the very best and great good luck. And Professor Vimal, thank you very much for inviting me to be with you all this afternoon. So thank you. And over to you.
Have a good day. Have a good day. And all my dear colleagues, have a wonderful evening with your family, and have a sumptuous dinner, healthy dinner. And we will be meeting tomorrow again at 4:30 p.m. For the important inputs, that how you can access the videos which are getting recorded of all the sessions and where the quiz will be taken. And at 5 p.m. we'll be starting with the third session of this particular program. So good night, everyone, and have a wonderful evening, and keep smiling. I can see some smileys coming from all of you. So we'll meet tomorrow again. Thank you, everyone.